Chapter 170. So you always maintain a high and mighty attitude, like a god? Qin Yitian asked. Your so-called fusion, isn't it just another form of being high and mighty? Wherever you go, you change the fate and direction of some people and things. Just like that lady boss. You are also a god. The difference between us is that I am a god who does not do things, and you are a god who does things. I am not a god. Qin Yitian said. God is too far away. Have you seen Marvel movies? I am a god with power, just like the hero in those stories. I have such power, why don't I use it to change the fate of some poor people around me and the final outcome of some sad things? I like the feeling of change, as if seeing them reborn in front of my eyes. Jiang Junling smiled and said, I am different from you. After watching those movies, I want to destroy the world more. Destruction is more fulfilling than change. Otherwise, why do people like to smash cups when they are angry? Don't work together when we have different goals. But many people hope that we can finally come together. General Ling smiled and said, that old man Song Zhanxing said that his son should be General Ling's wife, and his adopted daughter must be Qin Yitian. That in itself was a sinister move. Who do you think ordered him to do that? Who can instruct Tao Addict? There will always be someone. Jiang Junling said with deep eyes. If there is a dragon, there must be a dragon slayer. If there is a real god, there will also be a god slayer messenger. In a place that we can't see with the naked eye. Are you a man of power? No, I am a man of profit. There is no lack of such people in this world. Qin Yitian said. But those people are not willing to admit that they are such people. That's because they are still talking about money at a low level. We are talking about numbers. Jiang Junling, you are so arrogant. Qin Yitian, you are the same. Qin Yitian's eyes suddenly lit up and he said, Jiang Junling, let me introduce you to a friend. A very interesting friend. Friend? Jiang Junling had just asked when he realized that Qin Yitian had already walked quickly towards a Hunan restaurant by the roadside. Jiang Junling smiled and followed behind him. Fang Yan, Fang Yingying, and Fang Haohan were burying their heads in the food. They were worthy of being the experts from the old Tai Chi family. The way they picked up the food and the speed at which they picked up the food was beyond the reach of ordinary people. They had wanted to go to the Jiang family's house to eat well-done steak, bread, and dessert, but the Jiang family refused to provide them with food. On the way back, they stopped at the 19th Street for lunch. They planned to go back to sleep after lunch. No one was cooking at home. Lu Chaoga rarely moved her chopsticks. She didn't know if it was because she wasn't interested in the hot and spicy food in front of her or because she was thinking about her own matters. She had just obtained half of Longtu and became a super-rich woman with billions of funds. There were indeed a lot of things she needed to figure out. The most urgent problem was, how was he going to spend so much money? If Fang Yan encountered such a problem, he would definitely be anxious to death. Fang Yan looked up at Lu Chaoga and said, you don't like spicy food, right? Don't worry, I ordered a vegetarian dish for you. There is a vegetarian dish? What vegetarian dish? Fang Yingying asked without looking up with a greasy piece of boiled meat in his mouth. Tiger skin pepper. You guys eat. Lu Chaoga said, I'm not hungry. You still have to eat a little, Fang Yan said. Only with a good body can you inherit a good fortune. Didn't it say on the internet? The most tragic thing in the world is to have money but not a person. Fang Yan. Someone shouted behind him. Fang Yan turned around and saw Qin Yitian pushing open the glass door and coming in. Fang Yan looked at her in surprise and asked, Qin Yitian, why are you still here so late? Eating, Qin Yitian said. She looked at Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan, and then looked at Lu Chaoga. She took the initiative to greet and said, Hello, Principal Lu. Lu Chaoga nodded to Qin Yitian and said, Hello, Qin Yitian. Lu Chaoga was no stranger to the #1 student in the school. I don't think I'm disturbing you guys, am I? Qin Yitian asked with a smile. You'd better go back quickly, Fang Yan said. Being called by his own student in front of his immediate superior, Fang Yan felt his self-esteem was hit. It would not be good if Lu Chaoga misunderstood that the students in the 9th class didn't respect him. Therefore, he wanted to send Qin Etian away as soon as possible. We're going back after eating. Let me introduce you to my friend. Qin Etian glanced at Jiang Junling, who was standing not far behind, and said, Jiang Junling, although I know you're not interested in meeting him. General what? Fang Yan's eyes widened. Jiang Junling, Qin Etian said. You came out to meet your online friend? Fang Yan was shocked. He stood up, looked at Qin Etian and said in a low voice, Qin Etian, you have to be careful. The media often reported that girls were cheated of money and sex when they met online friends, and some even lost money and sex. I read a newspaper 2 days ago that a girl's phone was stolen by a male online friend when she was taking a shower after having sex with him. How hateful! How could she chat with others on WeChat without her phone? There were even more tragic things that Fang Yan was too embarrassed to say. A girl took the train for more than 10 hours to Yanjing to visit her online friend. As a result, the online friend treated her to a 6 yuan spicy hot pot, but had sex with her 12 times in one night. Qin Etian smiled and said, he's not an online friend, and Jiang Junling is not an online name. His surname is General, and his name is Jiang Junling. Fang Yan looked a little embarrassed and said, this surname is quite rare. There is a surname General among the 100 surnames? I'll have to study it later. Qin Etian pointed at Fang Yan and introduced him to Jiang Junling. Fang Yan, the language teacher of the 9th class, the man I like. Jiang Junling smiled at Fang Yan from afar, but he didn't want to shake hands with him. In his eyes, Fang Yan and he were not the same kind of people. Since they were not the same kind of people, why should they be forced to be together? Your boyfriend? Fang Yan asked. There was a sour feeling in his heart. Qin Etian used to like him for no reason at all. Why did she suddenly fall in love with someone else? A person should have a beginning and an end, okay? Even if I don't like you, I didn't stop you from liking me. What do you think? Qin Etian's eyes were full of smiles, hidden joy and shyness. Qin Etian could be shy? Seeing Qin Etian's shy look, Fang Yan's heart sank even more. He looked at Qin Etian earnestly and said, Student Qining, you are a student. Students should focus on their studies. As your language teacher and the head teacher of the 9th class, I have to tell you seriously, you can't have puppy love. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Junling again and said, Mr. General, this surname is really different. Mr. General is an adult, your thinking is more mature, and your understanding of the world is more comprehensive and profound. I think, as a responsible man, we should give girls more time, wait until they grow up and mature, then listen to their heart's choice. Is that right? Jiang Junling said with a smile. Mr. General's character is admirable. I believe you are a good man. You will definitely find your true happiness. Fang Yan said. As for who that true happiness was, no one knew. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yan and said, I think so. If other people don't agree, I think she will be in a difficult position. What do you mean? Fang Yan looked at Qin Etian. Which parent would be willing to rush their daughter to find a husband before she grew up and matured? Qin Etian smiled and said, maybe he thinks that my parents will be worried about me not being able to get married. How can that be? Fang Yan said angrily. What kind of parents would do that? When will your parents be home? I'll pay them a home visit and talk to them. They're not in Huaqing. Qin Etian refused. But you will definitely meet them. I promise. I'm a teacher, no matter how busy they are, they have to make time to meet me, right? Fang Yan said. I also want to talk to them about your studies and performance in school. The results you've achieved, the problems, and the areas that you hope to improve. It's really difficult, Qin Etian said. Even if the mayor of Huaqing wanted to meet her parents, it would be extremely difficult, right? But you can talk to me about these problems. Fang Yan was not willing to talk to Qin Etian. He knew that it was useless to talk. Qin Etian looked at Fang Yan and said with a smile, Enjoy your meal, I won't disturb you anymore. After nodding at the others, he turned around and walked out. Jiang Junling looked at Fang Yan and followed behind Qin Etian. It's really beautiful, Fang Yingxiong praised sincerely. Rin Jin is beautiful too, Fang Haohan added. Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoga and said, Actually, Our Principal Lu is the prettiest. Principal Lu, you'll be leaving Rosefinch soon, right? If you go to Longtu, will you bring a secretary or assistant with you? You know, I'm a language teacher. Today, I'm going to recruit people of talent and family. I think I'm qualified for this job. Believe in my sincerity, believe in your eyes, I'll bring you a comfortable and satisfied smile. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yen and asked, "Why do I have to leave?" "Don't tell me you still want to stay in Rosefinch?" Fang Yen asked in confusion. How cool would it be to be the deputy director of Longtu Group? It would be much better than staying in Rosefinch, right? Before I understand a lot of things, I won't leave Rosefinch, Lu Chaoga said. Rosefinch can be my Rosefinch, but Longtu is someone else's Longtu. Chapter 171. What do you think? Qin Yitian asked. What do you mean, what do you mean? Jiang Junling asked. What do you mean? I'm not a Tao addict, and I don't know how to judge people, Jiang Junling said with a smile. As long as you're human, you'll judge people, Qin Yitian said. Some people bet on a lifetime of happiness, while others bet wrong and lose everything. Jiang Junling smiled and said, gentle? Violent? Qin Yitian looked at Jiang Junling in surprise and said, did you know him before? No, I didn't. We just met once, and you have such an evaluation. Gentle refers to his appearance. He's a language teacher, a young and good-looking language teacher. It's not an exaggeration to say that he's casual and elegant. Such a teacher stands on the podium and talks about the country. He must be very popular among girls, right? However, he has a strong desire to break the rules. There are two kinds of people in this world. One is the people who live within the rules. They find their most comfortable position under all kinds of rules. Once they touch the red line, they will immediately shrink back and readjust their posture and direction. The other kind of people will trample and avoid it. When they feel troubled by the red line or blocked by the rules, they will cross the red line and break the rules to get where they want to go and get what they want. He's the same kind of person as me. Jiang Junling rarely praises others. Qin Yitian squinted and smiled. She knew that Fang Yen was indeed the kind of man who would cross the line. His teaching method was different from others, and his style of doing things was unique. He never stuck to the old rules, and he would surprise people within a controllable range. When he saw me, there was a slight contraction of his pupils. This was because he regarded me as an imaginary enemy. Let me ask you, we met for the first time. Why would he be hostile to me? Because he treats you like a treasure. He doesn't like to see other men encroach on you. That's what he thought. He immediately used his identity as a teacher to warn you not to fall in love at such a young age. In the name of righteousness, he told me to wait for you to grow up and mature. If you didn't listen to his advice, it would be disobeying your teacher's orders. If I refused, it would be considered as not loving you enough. A single leaf in autumn. If he encountered something else, what kind of counterattack would he make? It seems that you have just fought a battle, Qin Yitian said. Yes, a man's war. Jiang Junling nodded. In that case. Qin Yitian smiled even more happily, and her pretty face was incomparably gorgeous. If I work a little harder, I can still take him down, right? I don't think you ever doubted that. Qin Yin walked even more arrogantly and said, Jiang Junling, sometimes you are not so annoying. Thank you. Jiang Junling said, this is the most sincere compliment you can give me. The two of them walked to the entrance of a large shopping mall. Qin Yitian stopped and said, I hope you have a good time in Huaqing. After saying that, he got into a GMC limousine that had been prepared a long time ago. The limousine blended into the rolling traffic and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Jiang Junling stood there for a minute, and a black Mercedes-Benz drove in front of him. The back door opened, and a handsome young man walked out. He said respectfully, Welcome to Huaqing, young master. Huaqing is just looking at flowers. You don't have to be so nervous. Longtu Group. In the media interview room. Mr. Jiang, we would like to know why you suddenly decided to give half of the shares of Longtu Group to your adopted daughter, Lu Chaoga. A middle-aged male reporter wearing glasses stood up and asked. Qiang Long Tan sat there in a cultured and elegant manner, with a smile that made people feel like they were bathing in the spring breeze. No matter how one looked at it, this was a man who could move people's hearts. He lowered the microphone a little and said with a smile, "Mr. Reporter, there are two problems with your question. First, I did not suddenly make this decision. Instead, I made this final decision after a long period of careful consideration and the collective discussion of the Long2 Group's higher-ups. Second, I do not want to give half of the shares of Long2 Group to Miss Lu Chaoga, but to return it. Just as I said to her, she deserves it." Mr. Jiang, according to reliable sources, it is said that Miss Lu Chaoga was involved in a premeditated car accident when she was eating at Sky No. 1 a few days ago. Also, the former chief engineer of Long2, Mr. Lu Jing, also submitted his resignation letter to you after a big argument with you. What's even more shocking is that he died in an accident on the day he resigned. A female reporter in a black business suit stood up. Because this female reporter's explanation was too long and tedious, and she had asked such a sensitive and sharp question, everyone present focused their attention on her and Qiang Long Tan. The head of the public relations department of Long2 Group, Fu Mingli, looked at Qiang Long Tan with a questioning gaze. As long as he gave the slightest hint, he would immediately cut off the female reporter's question. Unfortunately, Qiang Long Tan maintained a calm and composed smile, as if he had already expected such a question to appear. "So, we really want to know if Mr. Zhang's decision to return the shares to Miss Lu Chaoga at this time was due to pressure from the media and the outside world? Or is it like how the outside world interpreted it? Mr. Jiang has a guilty conscience?" The audience was silent, and everyone looked at Jiang Longtan with burning eyes, waiting for his response to this question. Qiang Longtan's fingers were interlocked, and his eyes looked straight into the eyes of the many reporters below the stage. He said, "It's definitely unrealistic to say that I don't care about the media reports and the outside world speculations. Qiang Long Tan is a person who cherishes his reputation, and he's also a person who cares about his reputation, who would want to become a murderous demon in the eyes of others. In any case, I don't want to." "Of course, this isn't the main reason," Qiang Long Tan said with a smile. "Miss Lu Chaoga is sitting next to me at this time. She can prove to everyone that when she just returned from studying in the United States, I suggested that she enter Long2 Group to work. When she was familiar with the company's affairs, I would give her a more important position and let her take on more responsibilities. I could even completely take over Long2 Group. It's entirely possible." However, Miss Lu Chaoga refused. "Some of my ideas can only be put aside for now." Everyone present knew that a clenched fist was more painful than an open palm. I hoped that the Long2 Corporation would be a whole. I didn't want it to be split into two when the energy industry was flourishing and developing at such a rapid pace. This is irresponsible to my personal career, irresponsible to Long2 Group, and irresponsible to Miss Lu Chaoga and my friend's parents. Previously, I didn't return the shares to her because I felt that it wasn't the most suitable time. Now, I'm returning the shares to her because I feel that the time is just right. Today, I invited all the media friends here to explain this fact to you." "Mr. Jiang, you mean that you have nothing to do with Miss Lu Chaoga's car accident and Mr. Lu Jing's death?" The female reporter stood up and asked. Qiang Longtan's voice was incomparably firm as he said, "I have nothing to do with those things at all. I am willing to accept the supervision of society and the investigation of the law." "Miss Lu Chaoga, you suddenly have 49% of the shares of Long2 Group. You will become one of the richest women in this country. How do you feel now?" The reporter pointed the spear at Lu Chaoga, who had been sitting beside Qiang Longtan and had been silent and unusually low-key. Lu Chaoga raised her head and glanced at the excited female reporter. Her voice was calm as she said, "This is the wealth that my parents left for me. I am very grateful to have such a gift. It can change my life and my whole life. However, my greatest regret is that they didn't give it to me personally, because I really miss them." "Miss Lu Chaoga, you are now the vice principal of a famous school. After you have obtained 49% of the shares of Long2 Group, you will become the largest shareholder of Long2 Group after Mr. Qiang Long Tan. Will you give up your position as vice principal and join Long2 Group because of this?" "I won't," Lu Chaoga said decisively. "At least not now." Lu Chaoga turned sideways to look at Qiang Longtan and said, Uncle Jiang is a very capable person. Because of his many years of hard work and selfless contributions, Longtu Group can achieve what it has today. I have always been by his side, and I know the hard work he has done. I also believe that as long as he is here, Longtu Group will achieve even more dazzling achievements. So, I am willing to let Uncle Jiang take care of Longtu Group. As for me, I will still be doing my favorite education career. Everyone should do what they are good at. Uncle Jiang and I have a clear division of labor. Qiang Longtan also looked at Lu Chaoga lovingly and said in a slightly blaming tone, Chaoga, you should have discussed this with me before making such a decision. I hope that you can enter Longtu. I need your help. Uncle Jiang, I have made up my mind, Lu Chaoga said. Let's talk about this when we get home, Qiang Longtan said with a smile. One was a kind and considerate father, and the other was a confident and independent daughter. They behaved so intimately and lovingly that it instantly shattered all the speculations and bad rumors that the outside world had about them. Longtu Group was still an inseparable entity. In front of the computer, a woman sneered as she watched the live broadcast of Longtu Group's press conference. She said in a hoarse voice, Qiang Longtan, this is only the first round of victory. Chapter 172. Some people advocated light, while others preferred darkness. This was an abandoned agricultural machinery factory. Because no one had used it for a long time, there was a damp and moldy smell. There were no lights in the factory, only an old TV flickering with a blurry shadow. This was a football match between Chinese teams. There was no passionate running, no violent collisions, and no dazzling dribbling of the ball past people. They were always listless as if they did not sleep well last night. Coupled with the horizontal bars and black shadows that appeared from time to time on the TV screen due to the quality issues, most people would have long given up on the TV. However, his eyes were watching with relish and his expression was unusually serious. He held a can of beer in his hand and took a sip from it from time to time. Then he picked up 2 peanuts and threw them into his mouth to chew. It was really a great enjoyment. At this moment he suddenly stopped chewing. Who is it? The man shouted with a mouthful of peanuts in his mouth. Because there was too much foreign matter in his mouth, his voice was a little unclear. It was quiet inside and outside the factory, only the sound of the wind blowing through the grass outside could be heard. The man threw the can of beer in his hand towards the nearest window but did not hear the sound of the can falling. He picked up the chair on the ground and smashed it towards the window. He quickly hid in a dark corner of the room. Clang! The chair hit the window and the dusty glass shattered. How could such a good beer be lost? A clear voice came from outside. Creak! The heavy iron door of the factory was pushed open from the outside and a black shadow slowly walked in. At the same time, the wind and moon rushed in. The factory finally became clearer, but the corners of the walls were still dark. Old monster, come out. Fang Yen said with a smile. He put the can of beer in his hand on the table and said, You are surrounded. Come out and let's have a good talk. The old monster did not make a sound, still holding his breath and hiding behind the pile of scrap metal. Do you not believe that you are surrounded, or do you not want to have a good talk with me? Fang Yen said aloud. Hero, give him a warning. The hero has arrived. A round head appeared by the window on the left. The hero is here. A simple and honest man's voice rang out from the window on the right. There were a total of 4 windows in the factory. 2 of them were blocked by a pile of scrap metal, and the other 2 were blocked by heroes. Coupled with Fang Yen, who was attacking from the front, the old monster was indeed surrounded. Can we talk now? Fang Yen stood still in the distance, but his eyes were fixed on the place where the old monster was hiding, as if he wanted to drag him out from the deep shadows. What do you want to talk about? The old monster's hoarse voice came from the darkness. He knew that his current situation was not good. He would not give up without a fight, but he was willing to solve the problem through peaceful communication with Fang Yen. Talk about why you want to kill me, Fang Yen said with a smile. I'm a man who is easily interested in new things, especially when it concerns my life. I want to get to the bottom of it. I know very well that we have never met before. Why did you attack me on the Shisha mountain? The old monster fell silent once again. You lured me out through my student and then attacked me at the Tiger Leaping Gorge. You guys have been scheming in advance. Why don't you tell me who ordered you to do this? I didn't tell you last time, and I won't tell you this time either, the old monster said. The honor of an assassin? Fang Yan laughed. What kind of *T honor is an assassin? You're just taking someone's money to get rid of a disaster. Don't think that all assassins in the world are good men just because of the movie This Assassin Is Not Too Cold. You guys have never been merciful when you kill your wives and children. It's an assassin's rule, the old monster said. It's more important than honor. Honor would earn one respect, but the rule was something that one had no choice but to follow. If one violated the rule and sold the employer's personal information, one would be hunted down by the Assassin's Guild and other assassins. The former might live, but the latter would die a horrible death. Most importantly, they did not know the employer's information. It seems like we can't come to an agreement? It's either life or death. This is the fate of an assassin. The old monster said firmly, I've already mentally prepared myself before I entered this profession. The worst that can happen is death. So, you don't care about her life? Fang Yan asked with a smile. As they were talking, Fang Yingying pushed a woman who was tied up all over. The woman was the old monster's lover, Little Goblin. You deserve to die, the old monster roared fiercely. Clang. Following the roar, there was the sound of something hitting a piece of scrap metal. Then, the old monster, who was wearing a casual black outfit, walked out from the shadows. One of his hands had been cut off, leaving only a fleshy arm hanging there. They were the famous old monster and little goblin team in the world of assassins. Some people called them old monsters. On Sunset Mountain, they used Zheng Guodong, Li Yang, and Chen Tao as bait to kill Fang Yan at Tiger Leaping Gorge. Fang Yan was strong enough to capture the old monster. When he forced the old monster to reveal who the mastermind was, the little goblin suddenly cut off one of the old monster's hands. The two of them jumped off the cliff and escaped. Later, when Fang Yan and Lu Chaoge were eating at Sky No. 1, a car suddenly dashed toward them from behind. Fang Yan desperately pushed Lu Chaoge away and luckily saved his life. However, the security guard, Lu Jinju, who was holding an umbrella for them, was hit and killed. Fang Yan was extremely sad and tried his best to find the truth. When he went to the police station to check the video, he noticed that the driver only used one hand. There must be a reason why he used one hand to control the steering wheel at such a critical moment. Fang Yan knew 2 or 3 disabled people, but the old monster was the only one who had a broken hand. The old monster had already attacked him on Sunset Mountain. At this time, Fang Yan naturally had a reason to think of him as the enemy. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen hadn't found a job yet. Since they had nothing to do, Fang Yan sent them to look for the whereabouts of the old monster and the little goblin. The old monster's broken hand needed a lot of medicine to treat it. Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen set their sights on the medical centers and clinics in the city. They didn't expect that after a few days, they really found some clues. The two of them closely monitored the little goblin for 2 days. Finally, the little goblin came to buy medicine again. They informed Fang Yan in time. The 3 of them followed the little goblin and finally subdued the slippery little goblin in a hidden place. I deserve to die? Fang Yan sneered. You deserve to die. Didn't you just say that? Before you entered this industry, you were already mentally prepared. What? Are you mentally unbalanced now? It seems that you haven't prepared well enough. What kind of hero is kidnapping a woman? Come at me if you can. I'm not a hero, Fang Yan said with a smile. He pointed at the heroes who were escorting the little goblin and said, They are. What do you want? I want an answer, Fang Yan said. Tell me the answer. I'll let her go. This is the deal between you and me. Silence. Fang Yingying pulled the little goblin's hand hard. One of the little goblin's arms that was tied behind his back was broken. The little goblin's mouth was blocked by a rag, so he couldn't scream. However, the groan from the pain was like a thin needle that pierced deep into the old monster's heart. Let her go. Give me the answer I want, Fang Yan said again. You should know that I like to play quick questions and quick answers. Last time, you were the one who paid the price. This time, fortunately, it's still you. I believe that abandoning your teacher for a woman must be true love, right? I really don't know who wants to kill you, the old monster screamed. We always contact our agent when we receive jobs. The agent gives us the target's information, then we search for the target's whereabouts and look for an opportunity to make a move. I don't know who the employer is. I'm not satisfied with this answer, Fang Yan said. Crack, Fang Ying moved again, and another arm of the little goblin was broken. The little goblin groaned in pain again. His forehead was covered in cold sweat, and his expression became twisted. The old monster's eyes were angry and cruel. He stared at Fang Yan fiercely, like a wounded hyena staring at its prey. Let her go, and I'll agree to any of your conditions. I said, tell me the answer I want. Fang Yan said, I'll let her go immediately after I get the answer. Who wants to go against a woman? I don't know the answer, the old monster said. I can agree to anything except the answer. Doesn't that violate your assassin's code? Fang Yan said with a smile. I don't care, the old monster said with red eyes. Fang Yan squinted his eyes and smiled. Do you know that your value in my heart is only whether you can give me the answer I want? If you can't give me the answer, you've lost your only value in my heart. I won't cooperate with AB** starred who tried to kill me twice in a row. Fang Yan stretched his right foot forward, bent his body slightly, and made a gesture of holding the moon in the wind with his arms. He said, for Lu Jinju, for Lu Chaoga, and for Xiao Bao. You don't know who Xiao Bao is, do you? He's Lu Jinju's son. Lu Jinju was an innocent security guard who was killed by your car. I promised Lu Jinju that I would avenge him. Please cooperate with me and don't make me break my promise. Chapter 173. Under the bright moon and cool breeze, in the old factory in the wilderness. A great battle was about to break out, and the atmosphere was shockingly cold. Fang Yan got into a fighting stance, waiting for the old monster to take the initiative to attack. One to save his partner, and the other to fulfill his own lies. They all knew that this was a battle of life and death. Of course, Fang Yan thought that if he really couldn't beat the old monster, Fang Ying and Fang Haohan could still help. It was said that 2 fists couldn't beat 4 hands. They had 6 hands on their side. As for what the old monster was thinking, who cared? He could either choose to fight or run away. The key was that he might not be able to run away. The windsweeping moon was an open move in the Tai Chi palm. First, it opened wide to encircle people, then closed the door and locked them. Tai Chi was invisible. Tai Chi was everywhere. Tai Chi was everywhere. Unless the opponent chose to avoid it, as long as he approached or attacked, he would be within the range of the windsweeping moon. The old monster's eyes turned cold, but he couldn't retreat. What awaited him was a battle to the death. One of his hands had been cut off by the little goblin. This kind of injury was a disaster for a martial artist. Apart from Yanghua in The Return of the Condor Heroes, have you ever heard of a one-armed man who was a top master? Besides, Yanggua's superb kung fu was inseparable from his experience of living alone with his eagle for many years. After all, no matter how smart the eagle was, it was only a bird. Birds should not kill birds of the same kind. The old monster moved. He didn't directly charge at Fang Yan. He also came from the Tai Chi sect. Even if he didn't understand the essence of Tai Chi, he still had a certain understanding of the Tai Chi moves and styles of various sections. In a fight between masters, control was important. If he rushed straight at Fang Yan, he would enter Fang Yan's sphere of influence. If Fang Yan was completely in control of the situation, the only thing that awaited him in the end would be death. The old monster's body moved as fast as lightning. With a leap and a light tap of his toes, he flew to the top of the 1-meter-high pile of scrap metal. His feet moved quickly, and the thick, heavy, and embroidered weapons flew towards Fang Yan's direction. Fang Yan scooped with one hand, and the first iron artifact fell into Fang Yan's arms. His hands were not stained by the dust. Not even a corner of his clothes could touch the iron. He used his own chi to guide the trajectory of the iron weapon. After making 2 full circles, he smashed it at the pile of iron that the old monster was standing on at a faster speed and with greater force. Clang! The old monster leaped high into the air, and the iron shaft slammed into the wall of the factory behind him. Boom! A big hole appeared in the wall, and the ring-shaped iron shaft actually went through the wall. The entire factory began to shake, and the dust on the roof whooshed down, as if a sandstorm had arisen. This was just the beginning. Fang Yen waved his hands even faster, and the iron blocks and handles that the old monster had kicked were all swept up by him, and then he smashed them back in the direction of the old monster. Give them a taste of their own medicine. Moreover, the force was stronger, and the momentum was more majestic. This was the essence of Tai Chi, using one's own strength to hit one's enemy. If one could resist one's own strength, how could one resist the combined force of 2 people? The old monster dodged left and right on top of the pile of scrap metal like a ballet. After the storm of attacks from Fang Yen, he was in a very difficult and dangerous situation. The little goblin, whose hands and feet were tied and whose mouth was gagged, widened his eyes, and his face was full of panic and anxiety. Fang Yen was too powerful. The heavily injured old monster was no match for him at all. What was worse was that they were good at working together. However, how could he cooperate with him in his current situation? His life was in danger. Junior Martial Uncle's move of true man selecting soldiers is really good. Fang Ying looked at Fang Yen with admiration and said with a smile. Junior Martial Uncle is angry, Fang Haohen said. Fang Ying looked at the little goblin and said, although I feel that you are very pitiful, if you kill Junior Martial Uncle, Miss Yi will also be very pitiful. Fang Haohen looked at Fang Ying with a puzzled face and asked, why is Miss Yi pitiful? Miss Yi is not Junior Martial Uncle's wife, and Miss Yi did not give birth to a son for Junior Martial Uncle. Idiot! Fang Ying slapped Fang Haohen's head. Seeing that Fang Yen was busy fighting with others, he thought that he could not hear what he said, so he said in a low voice, if you were Miss Yi, you could find someone to beat up every day when you are in a bad mood, and that person could not resist. Do you think that your mood can be cute every day? Fang Haohen's eyes widened, and he thought for a while, and finally understood. He grinned, nodded honestly, and said, I can be cute every day. Hearing the conversation between these two, the little goblin almost laughed out loud. One of you has a fat head and a bun face, and the other has a long and flat wax melon head. Don't imitate other people's hobby of dressing up like this. Do you know that you are not cute at all? But when she thought about how her man was in a life and death struggle, she had to grieve and be heartbroken to match her current mood and situation. Could you imagine how much of a test of skill it was for her to move her facial muscles with all her might? Because Fang Yan's counterattack was too fierce, the old monster could no longer stand on the pile of scrap metal. His body jumped up, and his feet turned into blades, and he aimed at Fang Yan's neck. Here it comes. Fang Yan sneered. He moved his body to one side, and avoided the old monster's direct attack. Then he used both hands to buckle the old monster's long legs, and one hand grabbed his ankle. With a strong pull, the old monster's flying body was pulled back by him. He punched the old monster's knee, and with a crisp crack, one of the old monster's legs was broken. Ah! The old monster screamed. Fang Yan did not stop there, and he still held the old monster's ankle. His right foot kicked up at a 180-degree angle, directly hitting the upper body of the old monster, whose body was still hanging in the air, and kicking it high into the air. When the old monster's body was in a free fall, Fang Yan kicked the second time. Bang! After a muffled groan, the old monster's body flew high again. Third kick, fourth kick, fifth kick. The old monster's body was kicked 7 or 8 times, and his bones felt like they were about to fall apart. However, he still clenched his teeth and held on, and kept his mouth closed. Suddenly his body was hanging upside down, and he grabbed Fang Yan's lower body. In his hand, he was holding a triangular bayonet that was shining with a cold light. The tip of the bayonet went straight for Fang Yan's calf. If he succeeded with this attack, Fang Yan's entire left leg would be broken. You're asking for it. Fang Yan was furious. His body spun 360 degrees, round and round, and he swung the old monster's body again. Then he kicked the old monster's body toward the pile of scrap metal. Clank, clank bang. The old monster's body knocked down several metal shelves, and he was finally stopped by a large piece of machinery. Blurg. The old monster was lying there, retching. When he opened his mouth, a pool of sticky blood gushed out. When Fang Yen continuously kicked his chest, his internal organs were already seriously injured. However, he resisted the urge to spit out the clotted blood. This was because he knew that once he vomited blood in the process of battle, the taut energy in his body would leak out. Without the ability to fight back, there would be no hope of escape. If that happened, he would really be dead if he fell into Fang Yan's hands. Of course, he was only left with a small part of his life. The little goblin whimpered, and his body struggled with all his might. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not untie the Tai Chi knot that Fang Yingying tied on him. The Tai Chi knot, one knot leads to 100 knots, and the more knots are untied, the more knots there are. If one did not know how to untie knots, he would probably be strangled to death by this knot. Woo woo woo. The little goblin whimpered at Fang Yingying. She wants to talk to you, Fang Haohan said. Fang Yingying pulled off the rag on the little goblin's mouth. Before he could ask what she wanted to say, the little goblin had already shouted, "Let him go! Fang Yen, please let him go. He is also a Tai Chi disciple, the same as you. Fang Yen, let him go, I will promise you anything." Fang Yen looked at the little goblin and said, "I just talked to him, I need an answer. But he didn't give it to me." "It's not that we don't want to give it to you, it's that we really don't know who ordered us to kill you. Fang Yen, let him go, I will die for him." Fang Yen shook his head and said, "It can't be replaced. No one can replace the other. Lu Jinju is dead, even if 10 old monster and little goblin died, they can't replace his mother who lost her son, his wife who lost her husband, and his son. His son just turned 1 month old, he didn't even have the chance to hear his son call him daddy. How can he replace this?" The old monster vomited another mouthful of blood and screamed, "Don't beg him! Don't beg him! From the day we betrayed the sect, every day we live is equal to 1 more day of profit for us. That's enough. It's really enough. But I have wronged you. It's all my fault. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have betrayed the sect. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have been hunted down. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have become an assassin. It's all my fault. I don't care if I die, but I want you to live." The old monster shook his head and said, "If you die, how can I live?" He supported himself with one hand on the metal frame and struggled to stand up. Step by step, he walked toward where Fang Yen was standing. He staggered and one of his legs was dragging on the ground. He was still covering his mouth and coughing violently. Every time he coughed, his injured internal organs would be pulled, and every time his internal organs were pulled, he would spit out a mouthful of black blood. Fang Yan's eyes were cold, his whole body vigilant as he stared at the old monster who was getting closer. The old monster stood in front of Fang Yen, the two of them maintaining a distance of less than 1 meter. "I lost," the old monster said. "I'm no match for you. I tried to kill you twice but failed twice. Now my life is yours." Chapter 174. The old monster stood loosely in front of Fang Yen, as if he was waiting to be slaughtered. He had given up fighting and resisting. As long as Fang Yen gave him a light push, he would fall to the ground. This kind of person was really too hateful. Fang Yen was a little anxious. He said, "You punched me. You hit my face." The old monster stood there motionless, as if he hadn't heard Fang Yan's words at all. He covered his mouth with his hand. Every time he opened his palm was covered in blood. "You can kick me, or just touch me," Fang Yen said. "Dive. It's like diving on the football field. Fall on my body." The old monster laughed loudly. He pointed at Fang Yen and laughed so hard that his tears and snot were coming out. "Stupid." He pointed at Wen Yen and roared, "Really stupid." Fang Yen nodded and said, "You can scold me, but scold me a bit harder. You said I was ugly. What? Because I don't have the ability to fight? Because you think I'm useless, so you can't do anything? Because of chivalry? Because of the martial art moral teachings? Idiot. There's no shortage of idiots like you in the family or sect. People like you, if you walk out, will be swallowed by others until not even your bones are left. The winner is king and the loser is a bandit. You can't even bear to kill an assassin. What if you meet other opponents in the future? What if your family and friends want to kill you? This was a dog-eat-dog world, a place where anything could happen. Fang Yen, you're too naive. That's not what I mean. Fang Yen retorted angrily. These assassins are really hateful. Not only did he want to kill you several times, but he also insulted you after you knocked him down. The old monster patted his chest and shouted with a bloody face, "Come, Fang Yen, come, kill me and you'll fulfill your promise. Kill me and you'll avenge that child. Come on, hit here. One punch is enough." Fang Yen looked at the old monster with a serious expression and asked, "Do you want to die?" "I don't want to. Who would want to die if they could live?" The old monster laughed and spat out another mouthful of blood. "But I know I have no choice but to die." "What if I let you live?" Fang Yen asked. The old monster was stunned and asked, Why didn't you kill me?" "I mean if—" Fang Yen suddenly raised his leg and slapped the old monster's forehead. The old monster's body fell to the ground with a thud. He lay there motionless, and for a long time he did not move. "If you didn't kill Lu Jinju—" Fang Yen sighed softly. "Wenchang!" The little goblin screamed. The old monster's real name was Wenchang. Perhaps this name was a very distant memory for them? Fang Yingying and Fang Haohen held the little goblin on both sides to prevent her from rushing to fight with Fang Yen. Although she was tied up like a rice dumpling, even if she could run to Fang Yen, she would only be killed. "Wenchang, wait for me!" The little goblin screamed hysterically. Fang Yingying reacted quickly and stretched out his hand to pat her neck. Unfortunately, Fang Yingxiong was still a step too late. Before his hand chopped the little goblin's neck and made her faint, the little goblin had already crushed her poisonous fangs. She spat out a mouthful of blood, and then black blood flowed out of her nose and eyes. She looked like an evil ghost, and her appearance was extremely hideous and terrifying. The poison used by the killer was extremely strong, and there was no cure for her. "Untie it," Fang Yen said. Fang Yingying stretched out his hand and pulled, and the Tai Chi knot on the little goblin's body suddenly shrunk into a small rope. The little goblin smiled gratefully at Fang Yen, and then ran to the old monster's corpse. She had only run 2 steps when the poison took effect, and her body fell to the ground weakly. She didn't stop there, and still crawled to the place where the old monster was lying with difficulty. Both of her arms were broken by Fang Yingying, so she could only rely on her physical strength. Her body arched up and down, and arched up again. She kicked her legs forward with all her might, like a sick pig that didn't know fatigue. When her body fell again, she lifted her head once more. She struggled, and used all her strength to arch up. However, she had no strength left in her body. Her vision turned black, and her head fell down softly. She couldn't raise her head anymore. Fang Yen, Fang Yingying, and Fang Haohen watched from afar, watching the woman approach the man crazily, getting closer to her life partner. Because a celebrity got divorced, because a celebrity cheated, countless people said that they didn't believe in love anymore. However, Fang Yen saw the true meaning of life and death companionship from these 2 killers. He was deeply shocked. Fang Yingying opened his mouth, but he couldn't say anything. Fang Haohen scratched his head, and felt that this scene was so sad. Fang Yen walked over, picked up the little goblin's body, and put it in the old monster's arms. Then, he used the old monster's arms to wrap around the little goblin. Just like that, they finally hugged each other tightly. They died together in such a gentle way. Men are afraid of entering the wrong profession, and women are afraid of marrying the wrong man. "I hope you can have good luck in your next life," Fang Yen said. This scene made him feel inexplicably sad. Fang Yen killed the killer who wanted to kill him and Lu Jinju, but he didn't feel the slightest joy in his heart. They were just another form of pitiful people. The mistake was that they chose the wrong profession. "Give them a grand funeral," Fang Yen said. Screech. A champagne-colored BMW stopped in front of the iron gate of the villa. This was an old-fashioned villa. It didn't have an electronic gate, and it still used a black iron gate with a sharp point. The courtyard wall was also tall, and the top of the wall was covered with unknown green plants. Dense green moss grew in the damp corners of the outer wall. Everyone lived in peace. The courtyard wall was much higher than a person, so it was impossible to see the situation inside the villa from the outside. Lu Chaoga sat in the driver's seat and looked at the embroidery on the iron gate. She didn't intend to get out of the car immediately. The wound on her face was carefully cared for by Fong Yen. She applied the golden chrysalis skin-nourishing powder every day, and there were almost no scars left. Her injured ankle and sprained waist had also recovered. She wore an exquisite suit, and her slender and fair neck was tied with a new Hermes silk scarf. She had regained the demeanor of an ice queen. She inadvertently looked up and saw a pair of gloomy eyes behind the curtain of the room on the second floor. Clang. Lu Chaoga finally opened the door and walked out. She stood in front of the iron gate and gently knocked on the lock of the gate. Soon, an old woman with small feet ran over and opened the iron gate. The old woman just smiled foolishly at Lu Chaoga and didn't speak. She was mute. Lu Chaoga walked into the living room and then walked up to the second floor. At the door of a brown wooden door, she gently knocked on the room door and then pushed the door open without waiting for the person inside to respond. She knew that she wouldn't respond. Bang! The room door closed again. The huge study filled with the fragrance of paper and the moldy furniture that had not been opened for a long time became dark again. The woman stood by the window, but the curtains were drawn tightly. She only needed to reach out and pull, and she would be able to welcome the world of sunshine outside. However, she clearly didn't plan to do so. "You don't want to come in?" the woman asked in a sharp voice. It was like a knife ruthlessly stabbing into the heart. "I'm sitting in the car thinking about something," Lu Chaoga said. "I know what you're thinking," the woman said. "Lu Chaoga, do you think you've already won? Do you think you've already won? Do you think this matter can be settled just like that? Isn't that right? Isn't that what you think?" "I don't," Lu Chaoga said. "It's all an act. They're acting to you. Don't you understand? You've watched them act for more than 10 years. Can't you tell the real from the fake? Don't you feel disgusted watching this?" The woman said mockingly, "Do you really think you've gotten 49% of the shares? Do you think you've already become the second largest shareholder of Longtu Group? Do you think you've already amassed billions of assets and that you won't be able to finish spending it even if you lie down for the rest of your life? I've never thought about this." Before they gave you the shares, they had already signed a share expansion plan. They sold a large part of the company's shares to Jiang Julio's shell company, and what they got back was just some negligible checks. When you go to take over the company, the cruel reality will slap a little girl like you who doesn't care about worldly affairs to the ground. What's more hateful is that although they can't change the technology patents that belong to your father, they sold the core technology of these patents to another energy company that they founded. The core assets of Longtu Group are already under their control. If they want to turn against them, they can just leave at any time. Do you think they'll pin all their hopes on your father's patents? Do you think Qiang Long Tan is really as modest as he portrays himself to be? A dog that bites doesn't bark. Qiang Long Tan is a wolf dog that can throw you to the ground, tear off your flesh piece by piece and swallow it into his stomach. Not only will he eat your flesh, but he will also drink your blood, pull out your tendons, and boil your bones into soup. He's a calculative person. Every inch of your body will be fully used by him. He's a demon. There's nothing in this world that he can't do. "I know," Lu Chaoga said. "Auntie, I know all that you've said." Chapter 175. Do you know? The woman's voice suddenly rose. It was sharp and hoarse, like the sound of a sharp object cutting through gauze. "You know everything. Why are you hesitating? He wants to eat your flesh, so you have to eat his flesh. He wants to drink your blood, so you have to drink his blood. Before he turns your bones into soup, you have to pull out his bones one by one and put them into the pot to make soup. Defeat him, kill him. Lu Chaoga, this is what you have to do. This is your responsibility. This is your destiny. Think about your parents, Think about the life you have been living all these years. Think about your patience and sacrifice. The woman suddenly turned around, pointing at her face, and roared, "Think about my face. Lu Chaoga, shouldn't you do something for us?" What kind of face was that? It was not an exaggeration to say that it was full of holes. There were some parts where there was no flesh at all, only a piece of black bone that made people want to vomit. She had no hair, and a part of her scalp was burnt. It was wrinkled like craft paper. It looked like it had been scalded by boiling water or roasted by fire. She had no eyebrows, loose eyelids, and wrinkles. Her eyes were ruthless, cold, angry, and hateful. There was nothing positive in them. You could not see her age, but you would suspect that she must be a monster that crawled out from hell. Lu Xiaoga did not dodge, nor did she avert her gaze. She looked at the woman standing in front of her. Her eyes were full of sympathy and love, and an indescribable attachment. This was her aunt, the only family she had left in this world. Wang Li was originally a beautiful woman like her mother. Because of the tragic death of Lu Chaoga's parents, she did not go to the United States, nor did she go to any other place. She did not die. She should have died. On the way back, she did not know what happened, but she fainted. When she opened her eyes, she was trapped in a sea of fire. Her hair was burned off, her scalp was burned, and her face was disfigured. She should have turned into a piece of charcoal, not even a piece of charcoal, but a pile of dust that no one knew what kind of creature she was. However, there was always a way out. She didn't have time to repair it, so the unlocked rear door saved her life. After she got out of the car with flames all over her body, the car she was in exploded. She believed that it was all Qiang Longtan's doing, so she began her arduous journey of revenge. She escaped alone and did not contact Lu Chaoga, who had been adopted by Qiang Longtan. She was accumulating her strength and waiting for an opportunity. Under her manipulation from behind the scenes, they finally won the first victory. "I haven't forgotten. How could I forget?" Lu Chaoga said with a moved expression. "When you suddenly picked me up from school and told me that my parents would never come back, when you hugged me and cried, when I lived alone in that strange family of the Jiang family, when I was almost driven crazy by that kind of life, when I went to the United States to look for you but could not find you, when I was alone for countless festivals. I have been working hard." Only then did the woman calm down a little. She looked at Lu Chaoga and said, "What are you going to do next?" "As you said just now, the Jiang family has made preparations. On the surface, I have obtained the shares of the company, but in fact, what I have obtained is very limited. The shares have been diluted, and the core patented technology has been leaked. Most importantly, the Longtu Group has been run by Qiang Longtan for many years. Everyone from the top to the bottom is his people. If I go in, I will just become his puppet. It is meaningless." In order to test the loyalty of his subordinates, that hypocrite Jiang Longtu created a culture of borrowing books. Other than the dead Lu Jing, almost all the middle and upper management of the Longtu Group have borrowed books from Qiang Longtan. These people are directly or indirectly showing their support to Qiang Longtan. The woman said coldly, "Longtu Group is under his control. Even if your father is alive, I'm afraid he will not be able to make a sound in Longtu. This is also not the reason for us to cooperate with him." Lu Chaoga finally voiced out her concern. "If the wolf is chased away by the tiger, what about the tiger? Then tell me, what should we do?" The woman snorted coldly. "Without their help, do you think I, a woman, can live to this day? Without their help, do you think we can force the father and son of the Jiang family to this state? If not for them, do you think we can win this time? Lu Chaoga, I know that the human heart is sinister. However, I know that only by staying alive will we have a chance. As long as we are alive, there will be a chance. There will always be a chance." Lu Chaoga was silent. She understood her aunt's way of doing things, but she could not accept it. Because those people were too cunning. They could lift you up right now, but they could also step on you right now. Besides, they have spent so much money and energy to help you. Don't tell me they don't have any ulterior motives? When their positions are switched, when they turn their guns to the outside world, how will she and her aunt face such danger? The father and son of the Jiang family must be eliminated, but it is not enough to rely on our strength. Ant continued. We need external help, we need to attract more hatred to them, they must die. Ant looked at Lu Chaoga and said, I believe you can do it. You must do it too. Lu Chaoga, don't let us down. Now is the best chance. If you are disappointed this time, it will be a lifetime of despair. Fang Yen walked to the school gate and saw Baldy arguing with two girls, his face red. Didn't I say it before? You say you are Teacher Fang Yan's students, then let Teacher Fang Yan come out. I don't see Teacher Fang Yan, so of course I can't let you in. If all the girls say they are Teacher Fang Yan's students and then enter Rosefinch Secondary to see Teacher Fang Yan, won't the school be in chaos? Teacher Fang Yan doesn't have that much time to receive you. Fang Yan was about to cry. He wanted to rush up and say, Brother Baldy, if there are beautiful girls who say they are my students and want to come in to see me, you must let them in. Wasn't a teacher's duty to protect students and provide them with all kinds of knowledge? He was not afraid of trouble and he had time. I just called Teacher Fang Yan, didn't you hear it? Let me show you the number on my phone. Don't tell me it's fake? Yuan Lin said angrily, Fang Yan is not a big star, is it necessary for us to pretend to be brainless fans to see him? That's right. Jiang Qin, who was carrying a red backpack, echoed. When I met Teacher Fang Yan, I didn't even know where you were. Fang Yan is my good friend, a very, very good friend. Do you know that? After a pause, Jiang Qin looked at Yuan Lin angrily and said, Yuan Shaolin, you must give me an explanation. Why is Fang Yan's number on my phone fake, but your number can get through? Yuan Lin laughed and said, That's your phone, how would I know it can't get through? Could it be that you remembered the wrong number? Don't think I don't know your tricks. You want to steal my man. Mr. Fang. Yuan Lin inadvertently saw Fang Yan behind her and hurriedly greeted Fang Yan. Don't pretend to be mysterious. I haven't finished speaking, you want to steal my man. As soon as Jiang Qin turned around, she saw Fang Yan standing behind her with a smile. Her cheeks quickly turned red, and she immediately said, Sister will give it to you immediately. I won't steal those stinky men with you. Yuan Lin felt that she was being used by her best friend. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who were still wearing their school uniforms, and asked, You two girls didn't go home after school, why did you come to my place? Jiang Qin hadn't recovered from the shyness just now. She said with a red face, My language has been declining recently, and there are a lot of questions that I can't do. I can't understand what the teacher is saying. I want to find Mr. Fang to tutor me. Yuan Lin nodded again and again. Do you really want to tutor? Fang Yan asked with a smile. Of course. Jiang Qin bit the bullet and said, We even brought the tuition fee. Yuan Lin, open your wallet and let him see. Why do you want to open my wallet? Yuan Lin asked. Because I don't have money. Jiang Qin said frankly. So, Yuan Lin had to open her branded wallet and showed the thick stack of bills to Fang Yan. It meant, Don't be afraid, I have money, enough to support you for a few days and nights. Hurry up and put away your wallet. Fang Yan said with a frown. Yuan Lin, don't carry so much cash with you when you go out next time. Why do you, a student, carry so much money? You're adding a lot of danger for no reason. Okay, I'll listen to Mr. Fang. Yuan Lin agreed readily. Let's go. I'm making curry chicken with rice. You two little girls are lucky. Fang Yan said with a smile. Baldy trotted to Fang Yan and said, Mr. Fang, are they really your students? Fang Yan said. I don't think so, Baldy said. I'm worried that they're approaching you with ulterior motives. I want to apply to the captain to protect your safety. Fang Yan shook his head helplessly and said, Baldy, if you want coffee with rice, just say it. I didn't mean that, I didn't mean that. Baldy's thin face turned purple. If you have extra, I'll get a bowl. When Fang Yan walked back to his courtyard with Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan, who were practicing martial arts in the courtyard, had their eyes lit up instantly. Fang Yingying gave Fang Haohan a look, and then the two secretly played rock-paper-scissors to guess the winner. Chapter 176. Fang Haohan used scissors, and Fang Yingying used rock. Rocks smashed scissors, and Fang Yingying won this round of the competition and had the priority to choose the beauties. His chubby face was full of smiles, and he walked in front of Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin with his most charming appearance. Before he could open his mouth to speak, the two little girls bowed to him politely and shouted, "Hello, uncle." Fang Yingying's big face was pale. However, as a man, he must always maintain a gentleman's demeanor. Maybe there was a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel? The most important thing was, didn't the little girls nowadays like older uncles? Only uncles had great competition. Therefore, Fang Yingying endured the pain on his face and smiled at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. "Hello, two beautiful little girls. Look, what a gentle and appropriate response. Uncle, you look like Garfield." Yuan Lin giggled and said, "Oh, surprised face. Garfield? How did I become Garfield? Which part of me looks like Garfield? How could I look like a cat?" Fang Yingying wasn't just feeling pain on his face, but this time it was his heart. "Yeah. So cute." Jiang Qin also echoed. "Ha ha ha." Fang Yingying laughed, and suddenly his eyes and mouth opened into an O shape, and he stuck out his fat tongue. He put his two hands beside his ears and made a peace sign, and said, I'm Garfield from Garfield." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were rocking back and forth with laughter, tears flowing down their cheeks. Yuan Lin pointed at Fang Yingying and said, "So cute. Fat uncle is so cute. Yeah, he really looks like that fat cat. I really want to pinch his face." "Pinch face?" Fang Yingxiong's eyes lit up. He swayed left and right as he moved step by step towards Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin. He shouted, "Master, hurry up and pinch my face, hurry up and pinch my face." Pinching faces can unlock more skills. Plop. Fang Yen kicked him from behind, causing him to fall flat on his face. "Who kicked me?" When Fang Ying climbed up from the ground with difficulty, he saw Fang Yan's black face. "Little martial uncle." The anger on Fang Yingxiong's fat face immediately turned into a smile, and he said fawningly, "Your white snake tail whip is getting better and better. I was completely defenseless when you kicked me. Good kick, wonderful kick. You idiot scum. We are the descendants of the Fang clan's Taiji. How could we do such a thing that would damage our reputation? As a top-notch martial artist, we should have a basic requirement for our own image. Standing like a pine tree, moving like the wind, standing like a bronze bell. Fang Yingying, tell me, which one did you do? Are you worthy of the name of a hero?" Fang Haohan said with a wronged face, "Junior martial uncle, I didn't do anything standing here." "Sorry, I said that too casually." Fang Yen apologized to Fang Haohan. Then he focused his attacks on Fang Yingxiong and said, "You better wake up." "Yes, junior martial uncle," Fang Yingying answered obediently. Fang Yen sighed softly and turned to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who were behind him, and said, "I don't want to be strict with them, but I have to be strict with them. A country has its laws and a family has its rules. Since they are from Fang's Tai Chi and call me junior martial uncle, I have to be responsible for their words and deeds. You may not know this, but we, the famous sects, are very strict with our disciples. Martial arts, martial art morality, none of them can be missing. Only martial art morality. Without martial arts, it is difficult to enter the next level. Only martial arts, but not martial art morality, and disciples are easy to go out and commit crimes. We who practice martial arts are like Iron Man, Spider-Man, and Batman in the city. If we don't stand properly, won't we become the villains in the movies? Think about it, if Spider-Man scourges the people, how much loss will it bring? Is there any hope for this country?" Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at Fang Yen with little stars on their faces and praised him in unison. "Mr. Fang, you are so handsome." Fang Yen waved his hand freely and said, "It has nothing to do with being handsome or not. This is our responsibility as martial artists. The greater a person's ability, the greater his responsibility. I dare not forget this sentence. Mr. Fang, you are a responsible man." Yuan Lin grabbed Fang Yan's arm and said. Jiang Qin pulled Yuan Lin away from Fang Yen and said, You little love-struck fool, you haven't explained to me why I can't get through to Mr. Fong's number on my mobile phone. Tell me, what did you do to him? Jiang Qin replaced Yuan Lin's position, grabbed Fong Yan's arm and said, Mr. Fong, Yuan Xiaolin is too bad. She actually changed your number on my mobile phone, so I can't get through to you. You should teach her a lesson. Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan looked at each other, and both of them had deep helplessness and sadness in their hearts. Was this really a cruel world that only looked at appearances? I still think Ren Jin is good-looking, Fong Haohan said. I don't like these girls. Fong Yingying nodded and said, too thin. After thinking about it, Fong Yingying asked, is Junior Martial Uncle Iron Man, Spider-Man, or Batman? He is Superman. Why? They all like to tie their underwear to their chest, but in fact, they don't wear underwear at all. Fong Yingying patted Fong Haohan's shoulder and said with deep sympathy, no underwear means no bottom line. Baldy came over and patted Fong Yingying's shoulder, and then patted Fong Haohan's shoulder without saying anything. Everything was understood without words. Fong Yingying took Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin into the house. Zhang Chen, a big man wearing a scarf, was busy in the kitchen. When he saw Fong Yan coming in, he said with a simple and honest smile, Master, curry chicken will be ready in a while. You sit with the guests for a while? Fong Yan seriously corrected Zhang Chen's way of addressing him and said, Zhang Chen, how many times have I said that we are brothers? My kung fu is better than yours, and my cultivation is higher than yours, but this is not the reason why I can be your master. Master, I will definitely make you accept me as your disciple, Zhang Chen said with a determined face. Whether it's 1 year or 2 years, 10 years or 20 years. Fong Yan shook his head and said to Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, there are too many troublesome guys who want to learn martial arts from me. If I agree to every one of them, how can I do my favorite job of teaching and educating people? Reading books, writing and reading poems, how romantic is that? What's the point of fighting and killing? I'm a person who advocates peace. I hate war. Fong Yingying covered his butt, not daring to say anything. The messenger of peace had just been kicked by him. Yes, yes. Jiang Qin held Fong Yan's arm and nodded repeatedly. Mr. Fong still needs to tutor me in Chinese. Exactly. Teacher Fong is a knowledgeable, refined, and gentle man. How could he be a hooligan who only knows how to fight and kill? Yuan Lin, the little tail, also praised. But Mr. Fong's fighting posture is also very handsome. Really? Fong Yan's face lit up, but soon he said with a serious face, learning martial arts is to strengthen the body and protect the country. If a martial artist wants to use martial arts to act cool in the modern city, then I can conclude that this martial artist will not have any achievements. I often tell my juniors this. Fong Haohan, do I often teach you this? Fong Yingying and Fong Haohan didn't know how to express their feelings at this time. They had always thought that they could finish their apprenticeship, but the longer they interacted with their uncle master, the more they felt that he was an existence that they could only look up to. It was not enough to rely on hard work. Shamelessness was something that required talent. After a pause, Fong Yan said to Zhang Chen, who was standing on the side, I'll teach you some moves after dinner. Thank you, master. Zhang Chen was overjoyed. Fong Yan agreed to teach him moves, which was equivalent to giving him guidance in disguise. Fong Yan waved his hand and said, Make the chicken well. Make the chicken well. Yes, master. Zhang Chen held back his laughter and turned to concentrate on making coffee chicken. Fong Yan sat down on the sofa in the living room and said, Didn't you two want to ask me some language questions? Before dinner is ready, take out your textbooks. If there's anything you don't understand, I'll explain it to you. Fong Yan was a language teacher, and Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin were both students. He really wanted to help them improve their language scores. The midterm exam for junior high school was coming soon. If he could help them solve a few difficult problems and improve their scores in the exam, then Fong Yan felt that their trip was not in vain. Do you really want to teach? Jiang Qin said with a bitter face. Yeah. Why don't we learn after dinner? Yuan Lin also refused to learn. We'll learn now. Fong Yan said with a serious expression. You're students, and the primary goal of a student is to learn. Don't think about other messy things. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other, feeling a little down. Mr. Fang's words had a hidden meaning. Take out your language textbooks. Fang Yan said. The two girls unwillingly took down their school bags and rummaged through them. 1 second, 2 seconds, 1 minute, 2 minutes. What was even more strange was that the two girls' delicate skin blushed and there were fine beads of sweat on their foreheads. Fang Yan looked at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, who were almost putting their heads into their school bags, and asked, "What are you two doing? Is it so hard to find a textbook? Is your school bag a bottomless pit?" Mr. Fang. Jiang Qin's little face was about to cry. "I forgot to bring my language textbook." "Me too." Yuan Lin's little face was also red. "I clearly put my language textbook in my school bag after school. How did it disappear?" Chapter 177. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin lowered their heads and blushed as they stood in front of Fang Yan, like two children who had done something wrong. Fang Yan looked at them thoughtfully and didn't speak for a long time. Fang Yan didn't speak, and the atmosphere became more and more awkward. Jiang Qin was angry and felt that they couldn't go on like this, or they would be more and more passive. She couldn't let Fang Yan think about it in peace. If he figured out their intentions for coming here, how embarrassing would that be? So, Jiang Qin raised her head and pretended to stare at Fang Yan fiercely and said, "What? We didn't mean it. We originally wanted to ask you to help us with our language lessons. Do you think we're here to see you? In your dreams? I also brought tuition fees." Yuan Lin wanted to rummage through her wallet as she spoke. Fang Yan waved his hand and said, "Don't rummage through your wallet. I believe you." Jiang Qin was stunned for a moment. She looked at Fang Yan and asked, "Do you really believe us? What can I do if I don't believe you? I don't dare to bully the butcher's daughter." Jiang Qin chuckled and raised her head proudly. She said, "It's good that you know. I'm the butcher's daughter." Yuan Lin looked at Jiang Qin and was very envious that she had a butcher's father. Fang Yan pointed to the sofa opposite them and gestured for them to sit down. He said, "If you don't understand anything, you can ask me now." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin looked at each other and shook their heads. Both of them were ranked in the top few in the whole school. They were the top students that the teachers paid special attention to. If they had any questions that they didn't understand, they didn't need to say anything. The teachers of each subject would go up to them and give them guidance. "The exam is coming. You two have to study hard and don't run around," Fang Yan said. Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin lowered their heads and said nothing. Neither of them liked this kind of preaching education. "This year is the most crucial and important year for all of you. You must get good results," Fang Yan continued. The two girls became even more impatient. Their ears were about to get calluses from hearing such words every day. "I'll wait for you at Rosefinch," Fang Yan said. "Really?" Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin exclaimed in surprise. "Really?" Fang Yan nodded. He knew what these two little girls were thinking. This was a stage that everyone had to go through in life. It was very ignorant and very pure, but it was also abnormally firm and fearless. He couldn't reason with them, and it was impossible for him to tell them that they shouldn't like him because it was impossible for them to be together. That would hurt their self-esteem, and if he didn't handle it well, they might give up on themselves. The consequences would be extremely serious. He was willing to wait for them to grow up, wait for them to mature. At that time, they would realize that they had fallen in love with such an outstanding man. Thus, he very noble and very shameless used the handsome man trick. "Can I take the exam for your class 9? Jiang Qin asked. "I also want to take the exam for class 9. "You can't take the exam for class 9. You can go to class 7 or 8, but you can't go to class 9. "Yes. I want to be together with you." "I don't want to be with you. Who told you to change my phone number? At worst, I won't change it in the future." Their bad moods came and went quickly, and their smiling faces would suddenly blossom into a bright smile. They would quarrel over a simple question, and they would look forward to their beautiful future. It was good to be young. Seeing the two girls chattering in front of him about the unreachable matter, Fang Yan's mood inexplicably improved. No wonder everyone liked little Loli, because every frown and smile of theirs were very cute. After the meal, Fang Yen fulfilled his promise and taught Zhang Chen some moves. Fang Yen especially went back to his room and changed into a white scholar's robe, looking handsome and elegant. He also deliberately stood in a row with Fang Yingying and Fang Haohan, making people feel that he was a dragon among men and a crane among chickens. This made Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin, the two brainless fans, applaud again and again. Their eyes were full of little stars. Zhang Chen, who was wearing a black sportswear, stood in front of Fang Yen and bowed to Fang Yen. "Master, please advise me." Fang Yen nodded and said, "You attack me." Zhang Chen agreed. He clenched his fists and sank his qi into his dantian. After a roar, his whole body pounced towards Fang Yen. A fist smashed towards Fang Yan's chest. Strength. Angle. The three were all together, three became one. For Zhang Chen to be able to establish such a great reputation in Huaqing, he indeed had his outstanding points. The wind from the fist was fierce, wrapped with a strong wind. Jiang Qin screamed. Zhang Chen's momentum was too shocking, and his fist was too frightening. She was worried that he would hurt her, Mr. Fang. Fang Yen stretched out his hand, then stretched out his palm and lightly flicked. After Zhang Chen spun on the spot, his attack missed. Ooh! Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin both let out a sigh of relief at the same time. Fang Yingying came over and said as if he already knew this would happen, "Don't worry, junior martial uncle will be fine." "I know." Jiang Qin nodded. "But what if Mr. Fang is hurt? It's inevitable to get hurt in a martial arts competition. We didn't say that Uncle Zhang is not allowed to get hurt." Jiang Qin said innocently. "Did you forget?" Fang Yen asked. Zhang Chen thought for a while and said, "I forgot." Fang Yen said. So, Zhang Chen moved his qi into his dantian again, clenched his fists, and punched at a faster speed, heavier strength, and a more tricky angle. This punch was still aimed at Fang Yan's chest. Fang Yen hid one hand behind his back. When Zhang Chen rushed in front of him, he stretched out his right hand lightly. Similarly, he stretched out his hand and then gently flicked. Zhang Chen's hands and feet seemed to be entangled by an irresistible force, and his body fell backward involuntarily. Plop. Zhang Chen fell to the ground on his buttocks. "Good, good." Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin applauded. "Mr. Fang is so handsome." "Did you forget?" Fang Yen asked again. Zhang Chen closed his eyes and thought for a while, then said, "I forgot." Fang Yen said. He still hid one hand behind his back and stood tall, waiting for Zhang Chen to take the initiative to attack him. Zhang Chen rushed over again. A probe and a flick. Plop. Zhang Chen's body was hit and flew out, crushing a pot of pink orchids in the corner. Fang Yen raised his eyebrows but asked calmly, "Did you forget?" Zhang Chen climbed up from the ground with difficulty and said, "Master, I forgot." The smile on Fang Yan's face froze. It was as black as the curry chicken he ate that night. "Master." Zhang Chen looked at Fang Yen cautiously. Was there something wrong with his answer? There was no reason. This was the standard version of the answer. When he was a child, he had seen the Heaven Sword and Dragon Saber. Zhang Sanfeng wanted to teach his grandson Zhang Wuji Tai Chi. When he demonstrated it for the first time, his grandfather asked Zhang Wuji, "How much do you remember what I taught you?" Zhang Wuji said, "Big master, I only remember half of it." Zhang Sanfeng demonstrated it again and asked, "What about now?" Zhang Wuji replied, "Only less than half of it is left." After the third demonstration, Zhang Sanfeng asked, "What about now?" Zhang Wuji said, "I have forgotten everything." Everyone was worried sick. They thought, "Why is this child so stupid? Big master taught you martial arts. How can you forget everything?" Unexpectedly, Zhang Sanfeng's old face was beaming like a flower as he praised his grandson's talent. Although he was young at that time, he still felt his blood boiling when he saw this scene. Now, teacher Fang Yen demonstrated it 3 times and asked him 3 times, "Did he forget?" According to Zhang Wuji's answer, shouldn't he have forgotten everything? Only then would he be able to show that he was a rare martial arts genius with extraordinary comprehension like Zhang Wuji. You have forgotten everything I taught you? Fang Yan asked. Master, I have forgotten everything. Since you've forgotten everything, doesn't that mean my efforts were in vain? What's the point of continuing to teach you? Fang Yan shouted harshly. Master? Zhang Chen was shocked. Aren't we learning Tai Chi? It's Tai Chi. Tai Chi doesn't focus on moves, only on conception, right? Fang Yan's black face became darker. He suppressed his anger and said, Tai Chi doesn't focus on moves, only on conception, but that is when your moves have been perfected. Only when you see the mountain but not the mountain and the water but not the water can you reach the third level. You don't even know whether the Tai Chi moves are horizontal or vertical. Do you know what the conception of Tai Chi is? Do you think you are Zhang Wuji? Zhang Chen's eyes widened and his face was full of surprise. So that's what happened? Old Master Jin has done a lot of harm. This guy thinks he is shooting a movie, Fang Yingying said with a smile. He is even stupider than me, Fang Haohan said. After Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin understood the mistake made by Zhang Chen, they laughed again and said, Why is it so funny? Why is it so funny? Zhang Chen lowered his head in shame and said, Master, I was just talking nonsense. I've memorized all your moves. It was really shameful for such a man to make such a naive mistake in front of a girl. Tell me that. What did you remember? Fang Yan asked seriously. Zhang Chen thought about it seriously and said, I attacked 3 times, and Master used the same move and the same strength to fight back. Fang Yan nodded and said, The moves are the same, and the strength is the same. Nothing changed. However, the results of my 3 counterattacks were different. The first time, Master just dissolved my fist force and made me turn in a circle. The second time, I felt that my body was tied up, and I couldn't move or escape, so I fell to the ground. The third time, I didn't have any reaction at all, and there was an irresistible force that sent me flying. Zhang Chen's eyes lit up and he asked excitedly, Master is teaching me how to use strength. Chapter 178. The boy was worth teaching. Fang Yan had seen Zhang Chen and Fang Yingying sparring with Fang Haohan a few times, but he had never made any comments on Zhang Chen's kung fu. Only after he had a certain understanding of Zhang Chen did he offer to feed him moves. Although Fang Yan had never thought of taking Zhang Chen as his disciple, he absolutely did not want the person he sincerely wanted to help to be a brute who only had brute force. If he was really just a brute, Fang Yan would not make any changes to his moves and the way he exerted his strength. It was better to let him be brute for a lifetime than to let him be brute for a while. Maybe he could really walk a different path. Hua Xia's 7 addicts, which one of them did not become the best in their field because of their extreme foolishness? Zhang Chen could see the true meaning of Fang Yan's feeding, which was barely a pass. Good guess. Fang Yan nodded and said. He pointed at Zhang Chen's arms and chest and said, Your whole body is full of strength, but there is no place for you to exert your strength. It's like writing with a brush. The ink must be evenly used, the thickness must be appropriate, and the density must be well proportioned. Only in this way can you become a master of a generation. Have you seen any calligrapher whose strokes are of the same thickness? Zhang Chen shook his head. Tai Chi is about using softness to overcome hardness, but if hardness reaches the extreme, it is also Tai Chi. Yin and Yang are 2 extremes, and you occupy both extremes of Yang, Fang Yan said. You are not a flexible person, and this has something to do with your own character. So what you need to do now is to continue to polish your strength. Still practice strength? Zhang Chen did not understand. With a flick of his foot, a green brick landed in Fang Yan's palm. He slapped it with his palm, and the blue brick immediately turned into powder. Wow! Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin exclaimed again. Mr. Fang is too handsome, too handsome. Fang Yingying smiled and said, I can do it too. Mr. Fang is so awesome. He gives people a sense of security. Fang Yingying touched his face and felt the cruelty of life even more clearly. This world belongs to handsome men. Fang Yan clapped his hands, and the ashes fell to the ground. Fang Yen flicked his toes and another brick landed in his hand. He gathered his strength and made his move. His palm lightly pressed forward. The blue brick was still the same blue brick from before, and it didn't look any different from before. "Stretch out your hand," Fang Yen said. Zhang Chen stretched out his hand, and Fang Yen placed the blue brick in Zhang Chen's palm. Zhang Chen clenched his fist tightly, and the green brick turned into powder and slipped through the gaps between his fingers. "Do you understand?" Fang Yen asked. "Understood." Zhang Chen nodded. In the world of martial arts, only speed is unbeatable. "We'll pay for the tuition. We won't waste your time." Fang Yen stopped and turned to look at Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin behind him. He said very seriously, "I promised you that I'll wait for you in Rosefinch. So, you also promise me that you'll study hard before entering Rosefinch, okay?" Jiang Qin still wanted to argue that she came to find him to study hard and get better grades. However, when she met Fang Yan's eyes, she couldn't say anything. He understood everything that was on her mind. "I promise," Jiang Qin said. "Kiss." Yuan Lin pulled Jiang Qin's hand eagerly, indicating that she shouldn't be silly. "I promise you," Jiang Qin said. "I promise you that I'll study hard. I promise you that I'll get good grades in every exam. I promise you that I'll enter Rosefinch High. I promise you that I'll enter Class 9. I promise you that I won't fall in love with you easily." "Okay," Fang Yen said with a smile. After getting Jiang Qin's confirmation, Fang Yen felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. Jiang Qin stared at Fang Yen with a burning gaze and said, "But, before I get into Rosefinch, before I enter Class 9, before I grow up and become an adult, can you wait for me and give me a chance to fall in love with you?" The smile on Fang Yan's face instantly froze. "You promise?" Jiang Qin asked eagerly. Fang Yen waved his hand and said, "It's late, go back." Without waiting for Jiang Qin and Yuan Lin to respond, he had already turned around and left. Jiang Qin wiped her tears and looked at Yuan Lin and asked, "Am I too useless?" The bet between Fang Yen and Zhang Yu was known by everyone. Even some of the school's higher-ups knew about the bet between the two. In the anticipation of countless people, the midterm exam of Rosefinch Secondary finally arrived. The students of Class 1 and Class 9 were all full of energy, wholeheartedly thinking of defeating their opponents in this exam. Class 1 wanted to prove to the teachers and students of the school that Class 1 was Class 1 and that the class of kings could not be ignored. The students of Class 9 also wanted to prove that their learning ability was not worse than others, that their IQ was not lower than others, and that Class 9 could also be number 1. The midterm exam was the school's big exam. The grades of all the students in the school had to be ranked, and even the report cards had to be mailed to the parents of each student. This was the test of half a semester, and also an important conclusion. For this exam, all the teachers and students in the school were mobilized. The students were divided into different classes, and the invigilator also made careful arrangements. For example, the first-year math teacher would invigilate the third-year language exam, and the third-year English teacher would invigilate the first-year math exam. It was absolutely impossible for the teacher of the class to invigilate the students of the class. Fang Yen stood on the podium of the classroom, looking at the students below the stage for the final general mobilization and said, "I have already written a letter of apology." Wow! The whole audience was in an uproar. "Mr. Fang, do you not trust us that much?" "Mr. Fang, we can definitely beat Class 1. "Teacher, don't be like this, okay? We are full of confidence." The students reacted very fiercely, as if they had been greatly insulted. Fang Yen waved his hand, motioning for everyone to quiet down, and said, "I will first read a paragraph for everyone. Everyone listen to what I have written." Fang Yen cleared his throat and said, "I fear the starry sky, because it is endless, and makes people realize their own insignificance. I cherish morality, because it makes people realize their own shortcomings and re-establish their own beliefs. I respect my opponent, because he defeated me with great strength, woke me up, and let me taste the taste of defeat and tears of humiliation. I've fantasized countless times that I'm on the winning side. Even in my dreams, I still hope so. How can I lose? I am so strong. How can I lose? My journey is the galaxy and the distance. Yes, I am very strong. But my opponent is even stronger. My journey is the galaxy and the distance, but my opponent's journey is a place that I can't see. My opponent is handsome, wise, gentle, and kind. He respects the school leaders, unites with fellow teachers, cares for every student, and truly treats every student as his own child. The students' faces were red, and their breathing was rapid. Chuanjiashe clenched his fists, wishing he could rush up and tear the letter of apology into pieces. Mr. Fong, how could he write such a letter of apology? Fong Yen glanced at the students below the stage and said, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, this letter of apology is written by me to teacher Zhang Yu." Chapter 179. In the examination room, the students were all engrossed in answering their papers. Only the slight breathing and the rustling sound of the pen tip sliding on the paper could be heard. Fong Yen and a language teacher named Li Xiaowei were invigilating the second-year mathematics exam at the same time. Li Xiaowei walked around the examination room. Her small eyes behind the thick glasses were extremely sharp. She took in every student's every move. She was a very responsible invigilator. Fong Yen sat on the podium. His eyes were gentle and smiling as he glanced at the students' answers. Most of the students were well behaved. They were either thinking with their heads down or answering quickly on the draft paper. However, there were also some students who tried to take a shortcut and directly copied other people's learning results onto their own papers. Fong Yen stared at a target. This was a little fatso wearing rimless glasses. He looked simple and honest. The pen in his hand never stopped. However, from time to time, he would raise his head to look at Fong Yen or glance at Li Xiaowei's position. This had already exposed his absent-mindedness and guilty conscience. I'm telling you, don't have any illusions. Everyone has to rely on their own ability to take the exam. If I find anyone cheating, the papers will be confiscated. All the results will be invalid. I'll even have to ask your parents to come. Li Xiaowei had also discovered some of the potential enemies in the classroom, so she threatened them sternly. Most of the students lowered their heads to answer their papers. Some students, in order to prove their innocence, bravely raised their heads and smiled at Li Xiaowei. They looked for the students who might have cheated with her. Fatso also raised his head and smiled. However, the smile on his face was a little unnatural. In the eyes of the adults, students at this age did not have mature acting skills. Li Xiaowei walked past Fatso. At this moment, a ball of paper from the next table flew towards little Fatso. This kid had an accomplice. Li Xiaowei seemed to have grown glasses on the back of her head. She suddenly turned around and looked around. Little Fatso's face was pale. He lowered his head and did not dare to breathe. Even though it was a cool and rainy day, his forehead was still dripping with sweat. His unusual behavior immediately attracted Li Xiaowei's attention. She rushed in front of little Fatso and pulled out his test paper. Her eyes were like radar as she scanned little Fatso's desk. He put away his draft paper, opened his pencil case, and even unscrewed the cylindrical pen he used to answer questions to see if there was anything hidden in it. No evidence of cheating was found. "Stand up," Li Xiaowei said in a low voice. Fatso's legs were trembling as he stood up shakily. "Tell me, where is the answer hidden?" Li Xiaowei glanced at Fatso's body and clothes and asked aloud. "Teacher, there is no answer," Fatso said through gritted teeth. "No? Not as scared as you?" Li Xiaowei sneered. "Teacher, my body isn't good. I'm sick." "Sick? I think it's a mental illness, right?" Li Xiaowei was very angry and dissatisfied with Fatso. However, she couldn't find evidence of Fatso's cheating, so she couldn't continue to harp on it. It would delay Fatso's exam time and affect the other students' exam state. "I'm telling you, Zhang Sanxin, I'm telling you, I'm watching you. If you dare to cheat, don't blame me for being rude to you." "Teacher, I won't," Fatso replied in a low voice. "Sit down," Li Xiaowei said. Fatso sat down and took the pen to write and draw on the draft paper. He looked like he was doing the math seriously. Li Xiaowei stood next to Fatso and stared at him for a while. She really couldn't find anything suspicious, so she turned and left. When Li Xiaowei left, little Fatso breathed a long sigh of relief. He glanced at the ground. There was a rolled-up piece of waste paper. Because it was in the corner of the table, it was hard to see it. He stretched out one of his feet and tried to pick up the small ball of paper with his other foot. At this moment, a large hand reached over and nimbly picked up the ball of paper from the ground. Fang Yen held the paper ball in his hand and looked at little Fatso thoughtfully. He looked like he knew everything. Little Fatso's pupils expanded, and his face turned purple. He was scared out of his wits. The sweat on his forehead was even denser, and his expression was even more embarrassed. He looked at Fang Yen with pleading eyes, like a pitiful puppy begging for a bone that could save its life. Li Xiaowei saw Fang Yan's action and quickly walked over. "What's the matter?" Li Xiaowei asked. "It's nothing," Fang Yen said with a smile. "We have to remind the students to try their best to maintain the cleanliness of the examination room during the exam. Don't litter." As Fang Yen spoke, he flicked his finger gently, and the paper ball flew toward the wastepaper basket in the corner of the classroom. "Mr. Fang," Li Xiaowei shouted, but she was still a step too late. She said anxiously, "Mr. Fang, this may be the evidence of students cheating. How can you not open it and check it?" After that, Li Xiaowei glared at Fang Yen fiercely and ran toward the wastepaper basket in the corner of the classroom. She searched for a while, but she couldn't find the paper ball that Fang Yen had just flicked in. There was a pile of charred paper ash on the surface of the wastepaper basket, which seemed to be the paper ball that Fang Yen had just thrown in. But how could it be charred? Li Xiaowei couldn't get any evidence, so this matter could only be dropped. Fang Yen looked at Fatso and said, "Do your best in the exam." After that, he turned around and walked toward the podium again. The bell rang. Under the urging of Fang Yen and Li Xiaowei, the students began to hand in their papers. When Fatso handed in his paper, he glanced at Fang Yen and left without saying anything. Fang Yen saw that the back of his paper was a large blank. Li Xiaowei saw that there was no communication between Fang Yen and Fatso, so she concentrated on sorting out the papers in her hands. She sealed them in a bag and marked them together. After the math exam, this morning's work was temporarily over. Fang Yen and Li Xiaowei sent the papers to the Academic Affairs office together. They had a short meeting in the office to make a summary, and then everyone went home to eat. When Fang Yen walked out of the tree-lined path, there was a voice behind him, "Mr. Fang." Fang Yen turned around and saw the cheating Fatso running toward him. Fatso was panting. It seemed that he rarely participated in sports. He stood in front of Fang Yen and said gratefully, "Mr. Fang, thank you. If it weren't for you, I would be finished today." "Why?" Fang Yen asked sternly. Fatso and Zhang Sanxin looked at Fang Yen with a puzzled face. "Since you know the consequences are so serious, why did you choose this method of cheating?" Fang Yen asked aloud. "My math scores are not good. This time the questions are so difficult. Have you thought about it?" Fang Yen looked at Zhang Sanxin and asked, "If your paper ball fell into the hands of Teacher Li, what kind of consequences would you have to bear? If I had the same idea as Teacher Li, what kind of consequences would you have to bear?" So I'm really grateful to Mr. Fang. If it weren't for Mr. Fang, all my results would have been cancelled, and my parents would have been called over. Fang Yen shook his head and said, "Zhang Sanxin, I helped you not to make you thank me. I helped you not to let you realize that the cost of making a mistake is not that high, but to have a fluke in the future. I always believe that everyone should bear the consequences of making a mistake. You obtained your results by cheating. Isn't this unfair to those students who really rely on their own efforts to get the results?" "Mr. Fang, I'm sorry," Zhang Sanxin said with a ashamed expression. "You can borrow money, but don't think you can borrow other people's knowledge. Knowledge is always in the hands of the real owner. Others can't borrow it or take it away. Even if you get it temporarily, it may be taken away at any time. You even have to pay a heavy price for it." Fang Yen looked at Zhang Sanxin and said, "As a teacher, compared to your previous cheating behavior, I prefer the blank paper you handed in later. You may not have good results, but you proved that you are very honest. Honesty is also a very important advantage, even more important than getting good grades. Fang Yan patted Zhang Sanxin's shoulder and said, "Take care." After that, Fang Yan turned and left. Zhang Sanxin stood in the same place and looked at Fang Yan's departing figure. There was something in his eyes that he didn't have before. "Mr. Fang, thank you." Zhang Sanxin murmured. Enemies don't meet unless they meet. When Fang Yan walked to the small door to enter the teacher's living area, he happened to meet Zhang Yu, who was also preparing to go home. "Fang Yan." Zhang Yu's voice seemed murderous. "Hello, Miss Zhang." "Teacher Zhang, are you preparing to return home for dinner?" Fang Yan asked with a chuckle. "Fang Yan, you are shameless." Zhang Yu shouted angrily, "You didn't win and I didn't lose. Why do you have to read the apology letter to me in the classroom in front of the students?" Fang Yan thought about it and said, "I didn't say that I couldn't read it before the bet. You also know that my writing isn't good. I'm afraid that if I don't write well, I'll embarrass Teacher Zhang. A good horse needs a good saddle. Teacher Zhang is a great scholar of our Vermilion Bird Academy. Even if he were to apologize to someone, the letter of apology should be written with great literary talent." "How do you know that I will lose? Why isn't it you who will lose?" Zhang Yu was really angry. "Fang Yan, I tell you, you will lose. When the time comes, don't blame me for not giving you face. Miss Zhang, you and I are both teachers. Teachers should act like a teacher. I believe that Miss Zhang will not do anything too excessive." Fang Yan said with a gentle smile. Chapter 180. The rain is drifting, just like our damp and flying mood at this moment. Wearing our beautiful coats, holding a colorful umbrella, we went out and walked in the rain. Carefully feel the beauty of the rain, feel the breath of our youth. What is youth? It's electricity, it's light, it's hard work, it's the courage to win first place. It's you like me and I like you, it's infinite possibilities and opportunities. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the host of the campus radio program, Little Wu. According to the previous program routine, now is the time to recite the poems sent by the Poetry Club or recommend a few pieces of music to suit the occasion. But today will be different. We all know that two extremely popular language teachers in the school once made a bet, betting which class's language scores would be higher. The loser would have to recite a letter of apology provided by the winner on the campus radio program. I don't know if everyone is looking forward to this, but personally, I'm looking forward to it. Wow, the whole school was in an uproar. It was after school, and the students were either preparing to go home or walking back to their dorms. Hearing the campus radio program from the school loudspeaker, everyone couldn't help but stop or smile knowingly. Oh my God, are they really going to recite the letter of apology on the radio? That's so embarrassing. A girl with long hair and the demeanor of a goddess exclaimed. Isn't that right? If it were me, I wouldn't do such a thing. The round-faced girl next to her echoed. You don't know, right? The gossipy guy wanted to please the two girls, so he pretended to be mysterious and said, it said that because of this matter, the school leaders specially found the two teachers, Fang Yan and Zhang Yu, to mediate, but both of them didn't accept the mediation. They must insist on going according to the previous content of the competition. What a character. I like it. Exactly. The demeanor of a scholar. Then, let's welcome Teacher Zhang Yu. Teacher Zhang Yu, can you say hello to the students? The voice of the host, Little Wu, continued to resound in the campus through the campus radio. Silence. There was no sound from the radio for a long time. Miss Zhang, Little Wu reminded. Seeing that Zhang Yu was still unwilling to speak, Little Wu hurriedly explained, Miss Zhang is brewing her emotions, please wait a moment. I'm Zhang Yu. Zhang Yu's hoarse and dull voice finally came out from the broadcast. A single sentence from Kiran sent the whole Rosefinch High into an uproar. Heavens, Teacher Zhang Yu really came to apologize? Shouldn't it be Fang Yan? Fang Yan is teaching Class 9. How could Class 9 possibly surpass Class 1? The 9th class is really impressive this time. I apologize to Teacher Fang Yan with utmost sincerity and humility. I was wrong, I severely underestimated teacher Fang Yan's ability and the strength of Class 9 students. I am Mosquito, teacher Fang Yan is Jiao Long. I am a flashlight, teacher Fang Yan is the big sun. I am a bicycle, teacher Fang Yan is a Ferrari. The faces of Class 9 students showed puzzled expressions. Huang Haoren, did I hear it wrong? Is this a letter of apology written by Mr. Fang? Yes, it shouldn't be, right? We've all heard Mr. Fang's letter of apology. Mr. Fang read it in public in the classroom. It should be. Huang Haoren was also puzzled and said, this is the content of the bet. Presumably, Zhang Yu wouldn't dare to change the content of the letter of apology. Besides, there's no such way to change it. It must be known that although the letter of apology read by Fang Yan sounded very immoral, it was still within the acceptable range of normal people. Like this time, Mosquito and Jiao Long, Bicycle and Farron. Who would have the nerve to praise themselves like that? I am acutely conscious of my own error. I only have myself to blame for this punishment. I shouldn't have taken the initiative to provoke teacher Fang Yan, and even more so, I shouldn't have forced him to accept my challenge. In a situation where he repeatedly rejected me, I was still unwilling to let him go. Teacher Fang Yan, I was wrong. In order to express my apology, I want to give you a tongue twister. I hope you like it. Students, did you hear that? Teacher Zhang Yu is going to say a tongue twister, the host, Little Wu, said happily. Darkening? Oh, yeah, Zhang Yu finished reading. Everyone was dumbfounded. What were they talking about? He only heard a long part of hui hui hui, but he didn't understand the meaning of this tongue twister at all. Mr. Zhang Yu? Little Nothingness asked timidly, may I ask what you're reciting is black ash fat ash will volatilize gray ash will be taboo black ash will be black ash flower will return to fey. Ash black fertilizer will evaporate and turn into ash. Is this it? I'm done reading it. Zhang Yu roared angrily, and then there was a loud bang from the broadcast. Everyone knew that it was the sound of teacher Zhang Yu slamming the door and leaving. There was a long period of silence from the broadcast, as if the host had also disconnected. After a long time, the host, Little Wu, sighed softly and said, teacher Zhang Yu is from Shaman. Is this really appropriate for him? Is this appropriate? Lu Chaoga asked. In Lu Chaoga's office, she and Fang Yan had just enjoyed teacher Zhang Yu's performance on the campus radio station. That hui 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 part almost made her drop her jaw in shock. What? Miss Zhang is from Shaman? Fang Yan looked shocked. I didn't know that at all. I just felt that when he talked to me, the words gray and fly weren't very coherent. I didn't expect that I would guess it right. Lu Chaoga drank a few mouthfuls of tea and then looked at Fang Yan's face again. She said, I know that you didn't write this script before. Your apology letter has been read in class, and I have the original text here. As Lu Chaoga spoke, she took out a piece of paper from the folder and handed it over. Fang Yan took the paper and looked at it. It was the hipster version of the apology letter that he had read in class. I fear the starry sky because it is so deep that it makes people feel small. I changed it, Fang Yan said. Why did you change it? That was a trick to lure the enemy, Fang Yan said. Lure the enemy? When I wrote the apology letter, the exam results hadn't come out yet. Although I kept saying that we would win and I said that to everyone, but how did I know that I would definitely win? What if I lost? So, you wrote such an apology letter that Zhang Yu could completely accept. When the exam results came out, if you lost, he could only write an apology letter according to your standards. Is that right? Something like that, Fang Yan said. In the end, you won, but you gave him another apology letter. You can't say that. Fang Yan waved his hand. I didn't want the relationship between my colleagues to be too stiff, and I didn't want others to call me despicable and shameless. My nature is actually not bad. You have to admit that I am a kind person. Something happened later, which prompted me to make such a decision. What happened? After the math exam, he blocked me at the small door and said that I would definitely lose. He also said that he would use the cruelest way to humiliate me. I thought about it, I can't lose, Fang Yan explained, feeling wronged. So he's at a disadvantage. Lu Chaoga was silent again. The topic terminator always had this ability. After he said something, you wouldn't know how to continue. You don't think that I am a vicious person, right? Fang Yan asked cautiously. No, Lu Chaoga said. That's good. Fang Yan was happy again. It was very difficult for me to make such a decision. I hesitated for a long time and wrote 2 notes to draw lots. Finally, I decided to choose this apology letter. Of course, I didn't ask teacher Zhang Yu to report his 3 measurements in the apology letter. This is already a very kind act, right? Because his 3 measurements are really terrible. Fang Yan. Lu Chaoga interrupted Fang Yan's topic. If she let him continue, he would become a national hero. Go ahead. Fang Yan smiled gently and made an inviting gesture. Congratulations. Lu Chaoga said. This is a subversion. In the past, Class 1 has always been Class 1. No class could surpass them. Even in a single subject, it was the same. Fang Yan and Zhang Yu's bet ended with Class 9 winning Class 1. Class 1 and Class 9 had the same number of people. Class 1's average score for a single subject was 117 points, while Class 9's average score was 121 points. Class 9's average score was 4 points higher than Class 1's. Don't look down on these 4 points. In the past, Class 9's results were far ahead of other classes. Even Class 2, which was the closest to Class 1, was a long distance behind them. Not to mention Class 9, which was ranked at the bottom. This time, after the change of the language teacher, Fang Yan carried out a series of new teaching methods to stimulate the students' learning enthusiasm. After this competition, Class 9 actually defeated the King of Champions class. Therefore, it was not an exaggeration for Lu Chaoga to say that this was a subversion. More importantly, not only did Class 9 take home the first place award for the average score of the language subjects, but they also took home the first place for the language subjects, the first place for the mathematics subjects, and the first place for the other subjects. That's right, only the Rosefinch goddess, Qi Nitian, could have such a heaven-defying performance. Tangcheng also performed quite well. His total score and average score were among the top 5 in the school. He was following closely behind Qi Nitian. The results obtained by Class 9 this time could only be described as dazzling. Through this battle, the sarcasm, doubts, and blows that some of the senior teachers in the school had towards Fang Yan had all vanished into thin air. Fang Yan had become Rosefinch Secondary's true idol and ace teacher. Chapter 181. No one disliked compliments, and Fang Huohua was no exception. He looked at Lu Chaoga, his handsome face slightly embarrassed, and said, Actually, it's not a big deal. I just achieved a little bit of extraordinary results in an ordinary position. Lu Chaoga thought to herself, that's right, but why does it feel strange and absurd when it comes from Fang Yan's mouth? Seeing that Lu Chaoga did not speak, Fang Yan pretended to be indifferent, but very concerned, and asked, There's only verbal praise from the school leaders, and no physical rewards? I'm going to buy Rosefinch, Lu Chaoga said. Fang Yan was shocked and said, You don't have to be so polite, right? Although I've made some contributions to the school, it's something I should do. You don't have to give me the whole Rosefinch, do you? Fang Yan quickly calmed down, thought about it seriously, and said, Is it because I helped you before? If it's because of that, I'm willing to accept it. Lu Chaoga was now the second largest shareholder of Longtu Group, and she was a super rich person with a net worth of billions. If she bought a school for him because she was grateful for his selfless help and life-saving grace, it was completely understandable. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yan calmly and said, You've already used your results to prove to everyone that this teaching method is excellent and effective. However, if I want to promote it to the whole school, there will still be a lot of resistance. So, I want to buy Rosefinch. I'll be the principal? I'll be the principal. You'll be the principal yourself? Aren't you going to work at Longtu Group? Chairman or general manager or something? Yes. I'll continue to stay at Rosefinch. What about me? Rosefinch Senior High School's Class 9 form teacher and language teacher. Class 9 needs you. The practice and consolidation of Fang's scene reenactment teaching method also needs you. We need better results to support my teaching reform. I need you to lead the students of Class 9 to achieve even more outstanding results and create even more dazzling miracles. The higher the position, the greater the responsibility. The greater the responsibility, the higher the official position, right? Fang Yan decided to bargain with Lu Chaoge. Rose Finch Secondary's managing vice principal, Class 9's homeroom teacher and language teacher. I think this new position suits me very well. That's what you think, Lu Chaoge said. If an overly young guy who had only been teaching for less than 2 months was appointed as the school's vice principal, the students' parents would begin to doubt the quality of the school's teaching. Fang Yan's resume was too thin. He needed to produce more achievements, or at the very least, he needed to wait for more years. Let's schedule a time to talk to Director Zheng, Lu Chaoge said. I think if you propose it, he'll consider it carefully. Zheng Tiancheng's weakness was in Fang Yan's hands. If Fang Yan proposed a purchase plan to Zheng Tiancheng would indeed consider it. Of course, the key was to make Zheng Tiancheng profitable. You want the horse to run, but you don't give it grass. How can you be a leader? Fang Yan said with a bitter smile. After saying that, he suddenly realized that there seemed to be something wrong with what he said. At this moment, Fang Yan's cell phone rang. He took out his cell phone and looked at the caller ID. It was his grandmother's house number. Fang Yan answered the phone and said with a smile, "Grandmother? Is that you?" His grandmother's doting voice said, "Brat, how do you know it's me? Can't it be your grandfather?" Fang Yan said with a smile, "If grandfather wants to talk to me, he'll call me directly to the study to talk." "You're smart. Fang Yan, come home for lunch today." "Grandmother, this afternoon I may." His grandmother directly interrupted Fang Yan's explanation and said, "Call little Lu. I haven't seen her for a few days, and I really miss her. Is the injury on her leg all right? Little Lu is usually busy with work. You have to take care of her and don't let her fall or hurt herself. You can talk to her directly." Fang Yan handed over the phone and said to Lu Chaoge, "My grandmother wants to talk to you." Lu Chaoge took the phone, and a rare smile appeared on her face. Her voice also became soft and charming. She said, "Grandmother, are you looking for me?" Fang Yan was speechless as he looked at Lu Chaoge, who was chatting with her grandmother in a low voice. He wondered if there was any misunderstanding between them. The negotiation was very successful. Lu Chaoge bought all of Zheng Tiancheng's shares of Rose Finch High School at a premium of 20%. Zheng Tiancheng looked at Fang Yan and said with a sigh, "I've seen you twice, and I've lost twice. I, Zheng Tiancheng, have never been so passive in my life. Fang Yan, you're my nemesis." Fang Yan waved his hand with a smile and said, "The first time was not Director Zheng's loss, but young Master Zheng's. This time, it's not Director Zheng's loss, but Director Zheng's win. Who would refuse a person who gives them money?" Zheng Tiancheng laughed and patted Fang Yan's shoulder hard, saying, "Rose Finch Secondary is too small. It's really unfair for you to be a teacher. My original promise is still valid. If you're willing to work for me, I'll give you all I promised. No, I'll give you double. If you have any conditions, we can also talk about it in detail." To be honest, Director Zheng's conditions made me very tempted. I've also hesitated countless times about whether to work for Director Zheng. However, I still decided to refuse Director Zheng's invitation and sincerely apologize to you. But I can't bear to part with those children's clear eyes and happy smiling faces, Fang Yan said. After refusing Zheng Tiancheng's invitation on the way back to school, Lu Chaoge couldn't help but ask, "Are you really refusing Zheng Tiancheng's luxury car, mansion, and high salary because you can't bear to part with those children's happy smiling faces and clear eyes?" "Not exactly," Fang Yan said. "I don't think his female secretary is as good-looking as you." Fang Yan glanced at the rearview mirror and said with a smile, "We're being followed." Lu Chaoge's eyes were cold as she asked, "Who could it be?" "I also think it's strange," Fang Yan said. "Logically speaking, you've already become a major shareholder of Long2 Group. What's done is done, and others have no reason to touch you anymore. Who could it be?" Call the police, Lu Chaoga said. Not for the time being. Fang Yan said, aren't you curious about who is hiding in the dark like a rat in a sewer and biting people? Don't take risks. Trust me, Fang Yan said. Fang Yan jerked the steering wheel, and the car rushed in a direction that deviated from the original route. The car behind him didn't hesitate and immediately followed. They're quite open and aboveboard. They're following us in such a high-profile manner. Fang Yan said with a sneer, either they're skilled and bold, or they're a group of idiots. I really hope it's the latter. The car sped all the way through the bustling city, through the remote streets, past the suburban houses, and finally arrived at the edge of the Yantian port. This was an abandoned port. Ever since the construction of the Huaqing port in the east, this place had been deserted. The weather was harsh, and there were no signs of people. The port looked dilapidated. Screech. The black Buick SUV that followed closely behind stopped. Two men in black suits in the car looked around vigilantly, and then their eyes fell on the champagne-colored BMW that was parked in the middle of the square of the port. The windows were transparent, and they couldn't see anyone in the car from where they were. The two men looked at each other, and then they opened the door and got out of the car. They reached into their pockets, took out their pistols, and pulled out the safety bolt. The two men held their guns and carefully surrounded the BMW. The bald man stared up, and the muzzle was pointed at the car door, ready to kill the enemy that rushed out of the car at any time. The man with the crew cut leaned down at a 90-degree angle, and with one hand on the ground, he raised the gun with the other hand and aimed at the chassis of the BMW. He was worried that the target would hide underneath and launch a surprise attack. They attacked from the top and attacked from the bottom, and they cooperated well. There was nothing suspicious in or out of the car. Where was he? The two men were well trained, and they immediately looked around with their backs against each other, ready to find the enemy that might be hiding in the dock's cargo container or somewhere else. Are you looking for me? Fang Yan stood beside them with a smile and asked aloud. Fang Yan didn't go far, and he had been hiding by the side of the BMW. However, he wasn't in the car, nor was he in the bottom of the car. Instead, he used gecko climbing to hang his body on the door on the other side of the BMW. The men in black didn't find any trace of Fang Yan in the car, and thought that Fang Yan was hiding in the junk container not far away. This gave Fang Yan the time and opportunity to quietly approach them. The two men were shocked, and they raised their hands to shoot. Fang Yan wouldn't give them the chance to shoot. He slashed with his hands twice, but only a "kacha" sound could be heard. The two pistols fell to the ground at the same time, and the two men's arm bones were broken at the same time. Fang Yan tiptoed, and a black pistol left the ground and flew back into the air. He picked up the pistol, put the muzzle on the bald man's head, and said with a smile, "Guess if there are any bullets in this gun?" The bald man didn't guess, because he knew better than anyone that there were 6 bullets in the gun. It was full. This was his gun. But Fang Yan slapped the long-haired man next to him in the face. The long-haired man's mouth was bleeding, and there was a purplish-red handprint on his face. He looked at Fang Yan angrily, feeling that he had been slapped in the face for no reason at all. Guess why he didn't guess? Fang Yan asked. Chapter 182. That's his gun, said the long-haired man. Because it's his gun and he knows how many bullets are in the magazine, so he doesn't want to guess? Asked Fang Yan. As he spoke, he slapped the bald man in the face again and shouted, "If you know the answer, why don't you tell me? You think my question is too simple, don't you?" The bald man clenched his fists and his bones cracked. But Fang Yan slapped the bald man in the face again and scolded, "Look, I know you're not convinced. If I ask you why 1 + 1 = 2, do you think you can solve it?" The bald man was stunned. He wanted to find an opportunity to fight back, but the slaps had shattered his momentum. The long-haired man didn't dare to act rashly. His right arm bone had been cut off by Fang Yan's knife. His combat power had been greatly reduced, and his gun had fallen into the enemy's hands. If he fought back, would he blow up the bald man's head? But Fang Yan slapped the bald man in the face again and said, "Answer my question. How many bullets are in the magazine?" 6, said the bald man. He knew that answering this question would be very shameful. Even his companions would ridicule him for having no backbone. But was this the time to talk about backbone? This guy was simply a mad dog who didn't play by common sense. If he didn't answer, he had no doubt that this guy would beat him to death. Yes, he wanted obedience. Absolute control over them. Only in this way could he get more useful information from their mouths. The bald man had studied criminal psychology and knew what Fang Yen was doing. This was an extremely difficult opponent. Fang Yen reached out to slap the long-haired man. The long-haired man hurriedly said, "It's 6. There are 6 bullets in the gun." He guessed correctly. The long-haired man was so clever that Fang Yen didn't know whether to take back his hand or continue to slap him. Thinking that he was in a dilemma because of a gangster, Fang Yen was a little angry. He slapped the long-haired man's face hard and scolded, "Did I ask you if he guessed correctly?" The long-haired man was on the verge of tears. "What exactly do you want to ask?" "I don't want to ask anything, I just want to slap you," Fang Yen said confidently. The bald man and the long-haired man looked at each other in dismay. How did they meet such a freak? Because he valued his own life too much, Fang Yen would never tolerate those who attempted to harm him. If someone slapped him once, he would definitely return the favor with 10 slaps. If someone kicked him, he would find a way to break the leg that kicked him. If someone wanted him dead, then sorry, he wouldn't let them live a good life. If that person was Yi Ro, the first 3 conditions could be ignored. The 2 of them had been following him all the way. They were armed with guns and were extremely dangerous. Naturally, Fang Yen wouldn't be polite to them. "I won't kill you." Fang Yen said, "I know better than anyone that killing is a crime." The bald man and the long-haired man were relieved at the same time. As long as they could keep their lives, it was fine. They were afraid that this idiot would not care and directly beat them to death. As long as there's life, there's hope. But Fang Yen stuffed the gun in his hand into the long-haired man's broken hand. Then he raised his arm and aimed the gun at the bald man's head. "You will kill yourselves." The 2 men's faces were ashen. Could it be played like this? Why didn't they think of it? "So, now can you tell me who sent you to kill me?" Fang Yan's face was cold and his voice was extremely fierce. "We're not here to kill people. We're here to deliver a letter." The broken arm was unbearable and his forehead was covered with sweat. It was cold, but the long-haired man's clothes had been soaked with sweat. "What letter?" Fang Yan asked. "To deliver a letter to Miss Liu. Someone wants to see her," the long-haired man said. Fang Yan looked at the long-haired man thoughtfully and said, "Originally, you wanted to kidnap her, right?" The 2 men were silent. The order they received was indeed to deliver a letter. However, there were many ways to deliver a letter. They could deliver the letter to Lu Chaoga out of courtesy. They could also deliver the letter to Lu Chaoga and bring Lu Chaoga and the letter back at the same time. If it was the latter, it would be easier to negotiate. This was also the reason why they followed closely and unscrupulously prepared to take Lu Chaoga away. Of course, they also received news that the male follower of Lu Chaoga was good at martial arts. But so what? No matter how good his martial arts was, he would still be afraid of a kitchen knife. With a gun in hand, the world was mine. No matter how good his martial arts were, wasn't it something that could be solved with a bullet? The ideal was too full, but the reality was too shameless. "It seems that I guessed correctly," Fang Yan said. "Where's the letter?" The bald man reached into his arms and took out a rolled-up paper ball from his pocket. "Open it," Fang Yan said. The paper ball was dirty, and there was a reddish-brown liquid on it. Fang Yan wouldn't reach out to touch it himself. When the paper ball was opened, it turned out to be a piece of charred flesh. "This is..." Fang Yan paused, and his eyes became extremely sharp. "Human skin?" Because there was blood on it, it was likely to be a piece of flesh cut from a living person. What kind of person could actually do such a thing that was worse than a beast? Lu Chaoga came out from hiding. She had been hiding in an abandoned container not far away. As soon as the car stopped, Fang Yan drove her out and asked her to immediately find a place to hide. Then he magically disappeared from her field of vision. When Lu Chaoga saw the piece of flesh wrapped in white paper, her expression changed greatly, and she asked anxiously, Where is she? The criminal used this piece of flesh to invite Lu Chaoga, which proved that the person had a close relationship with Lu Chaoga. But what kind of person was it? Fang Yen was full of doubts. Come with us. Someone wants to see you, the bald man said. Fang Yen slapped the bald man's face and scolded, You think we'll go just because you say so? A captive should have the awareness of a captive. Fang Yen didn't like the bald man's tone and way of speaking to Lu Chaoga. It was too aggressive. I'll go with you, Lu Chaoga said straightforwardly. The bald man glanced at Fang Yen and didn't dare to speak rashly. But Fang Yen slapped the bald man's face again and scolded, Didn't you hear what my friend said? She said she wanted to go with you. What do you mean by not saying a word? Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yen and said, You go back. This matter has nothing to do with you. Fang Yen shook his head and said, Can I go at this time? These people are vicious and cunning, and they can do anything. If I don't go with you, I'm afraid you won't have any chance of winning the negotiation. Don't worry, no matter what happens, I'll stand by your side. Fang Yan's worries weren't unreasonable. If they really wanted to negotiate with Lu Chaoga, a phone call or a text message would be enough to inform her. They were giving her flesh and kidnapping her. It didn't look like they were going to negotiate. Now, someone very important to Lu Chaoga had been taken hostage by them. If they captured Lu Chaoga, would there still be a need to negotiate? The other party could directly decide the outcome. Lu Chaoga looked hesitant, and finally nodded and said, Thank you. Fang Yen smiled and didn't speak. Lu Chaoga drove, and Fang Yen sat in the back, accompanying and supervising the bald man and the long-haired man, who tried to kidnap her but were kidnapped by Fang Yen. To Fang Yan's surprise, without the help of the bandits, Lu Chaoga drove her BMW to an old neighborhood. The car stopped in front of the villa, and Lu Chaoga pushed the door open and ran to knock. No one answered, and the villa's yard was strangely quiet. Lu Chaoga knocked again, and the door of the living room opened. The mute nanny ran to open the door with a frightened expression. She saw Lu Chaoga and desperately gestured to her not to go in. It was dangerous inside. Lu Chaoga nodded, but still stubbornly walked past her. Fang Yen drove the bald man and the long-haired man out of the car like ducks, and took them to the villa's yard. Are all your men up there? Fang Yen asked. Yes, the bald man replied, and there was a flash of fierceness in his eyes. Their men were all up there, and Fang Yen would soon get the retribution he deserved. How many of you are there? The bald man didn't answer. 10? Or more than 10? Fang Yen looked at the long-haired man and asked, Do they all have guns? No, the long-haired man replied. Fang Yen narrowed his eyes and smiled. It's not a good habit to lie. He kicked the bald man's calf in the knee, and with a crisp crack, the bald man's calf was broken by Fang Yan's kick. The bald man screamed, lost his balance, and fell to the ground. The long-haired man turned to escape, but Fang Yen had already grabbed his neck. Without waiting for him to react, he had already stretched out his hand and broken the bones in his other arm. The long-haired man fell to the ground and screamed. Fang Yen walked over and stepped on his ankle. With a light tap of his toes, the bones in his foot were broken by Fang Yen. Both the bald man and the long-haired man had completely lost the ability to fight. Hearing the sound behind them, Lu Chaoga and the mute nanny turned to look at the same time. Fang Yen smiled and said embarrassedly, I'm going to lighten the load first. There are many people inside. I'm afraid I can't beat them. Chapter 183. The room was shrouded in darkness. The air was filled with the choking smell of mold, as well as a disgusting stench that made people want to vomit. If you hadn't seen it with your own eyes, it would be hard to imagine that there was such a human leg in the world. Scorched black, withered, full of holes, white skin and green veins could not be seen, only strange scars of different sizes and blood dripping. Disgusting. The handsome man frowned deeply. He looked at the flesh that had been peeled off and said with disgust, Is this still a woman's leg? Look at it without a trace of lust. Wild animals are nothing more than this. The woman's body was tied to the iron chair. One leg was tied to the chair leg and the other was stretched out. Blood was rapidly seeping out from several places where the skin had been cut off. The bright red blood dripped drop by drop on the brown carpet in the room, mixed with the damp and mold smell of the old carpet that had not been changed for decades. This was the source of the stench. "He is a butcher." The man pointed at the big man who had cut off the meat and said, "He used to kill pigs, now he kills people. He can kill a pig with one cut without any pain, and he can make a pig scream in pain for 3 to 5 hours without stopping. Humans are the same." "Mad dog. You mad dog." The woman roared hoarsely. Her face was ferocious, and there was a murderous light in her eyes. No one would doubt that if she was given a chance, she would cut off the man's flesh and stuff it into her mouth, chewing it with blood and swallowing it without hesitation. "Thank you for the compliment." The man laughed. "Hearing you scold me like that, it reminds me of a story. It is said that Qiang Long Tan's father-in-law once said that his son-in-law was a scalper and a dog. You scolded me as a mad dog, isn't that the same as Qiang Long Tan? I quite admire him. You mad dog demon. I was wrong to trust you. No, no, no." The man waved his hand. "You've never believed me. You just had to use me. If not for me, if not for us, would Qiang Long Tan return the fat piece of meat that he ate to you? Impossible. You're even more cruel and disgusting than him." "I've never denied that," the man said. "But so what? Verbal attacks are also a form of attack, but that's too weak. All these years, you've been cursing and spitting at Qiang Long Tan every day, but haven't they been living a good life?" The man gave Butcher a look, and Butcher raised the blade and stabbed the thigh. "Ah!" The woman struggled desperately. The man sat on the chair, enjoying the woman's screams and ugly expression. He said, "To be honest, your only value to me now is to make your beautiful niece listen to me. You don't know her at all." The woman's body was shaking in pain, and her teeth were chattering. "She won't give in. No one can change what she has decided." "Really?" The man held the teacup in his hand and gently blew on the tea leaves. "I don't think she has the capital to bargain with me," he said. Dong dong. There was a knock on the door. A middle-aged man in a black suit walked in and said in a deep voice, "Young master, they're here. Baldy and Ruler are lying in the yard, injured." "Huh? How exciting." The man laughed. "Then let's invite our young Miss Lu and her personal guardian angel in. I believe that she will soon know that she has made a stupid decision." The man responded and turned to leave. Soon, Lu Chaoga and Fang Yen walked in. Although the room was dim, Lu Chaoga could still see her aunt tied to the chair. She stood at the door of the study and said in a cold and resolute tone, "I know what you want. If anything happens to her, I'd rather destroy that thing than give it to you." TSK, this is not the negotiation quality that an excellent heir should have. The man sitting on the sofa turned around and smiled at Lu Xiaoga, who had a fierce look in his eyes. The first reaction of Fang Yen when he walked into the room was to hold his breath because of the stench of blood on the ground. Then his eyes were attracted by the horribly injured woman on the chair. When he saw the handsome man who had turned around, he almost stopped breathing for a moment. It was like a thunderbolt in his head. He was shaken to the point that he was about to fall and woke up instantly. "It's you." Fang Yen looked at the man in surprise and said. The man looked at Fang Yen and said, "Mr. Fang, we meet again." Fang Yen looked at the handsome man and looked at the woman sitting on the chair whose head was burned. Finally, his eyes stopped on Lu Chaoga's face and murmured, "I understand. I understand everything." When he said this, he felt as if his chest was stabbed by a knife. He didn't have time to defend and didn't know how to dodge. He just took the knife. He let the cold blade pierce into his flesh and the deepest part of his bones. Agitated, the pain penetrated his heart. Lu Chaoga's face was pale, but she insisted on not turning around and making eye contact with Fang Yen. She was running away. "Do you feel like you've been betrayed? Do you feel like you're a failure? That you've been a pitiful chess piece from beginning to end?" The man laughed and said, "The woman you trusted the most, the woman you gave everything for, the woman you saved her life. To her, you're just a qualified bodyguard, a pretty good fighter, and a clown who's not trusted but is indispensable. Mr. Fang, you must be feeling terrible right now, right?" Wushu. Lu Chaoga said through gritted teeth. This is between us. It has nothing to do with him. Yes, this handsome man was Lu Shu, one of Huaqing's four beauties. Lu Shu was known as Huaqing's lover and Jiang Zhuliu's good friend. Back then, Lu Chaoga's aunt, Wang Li, crawled out of a burning car and was saved by the Lu family. They healed her severely injured body, provided her with a place to hide, and provided her with many resources and bombs to take revenge on the Jiang father and son. Because of the Lu family's help, Wang Li survived. Also because of them adding fuel to the fire, the Jiang father and son were forced into a desperate situation and had to cut off one of their arms to protect themselves. Otherwise, how could they take revenge on Qiang Longtan and take back the shares of Longtu Group that belonged to her father if they only relied on the power of a disabled person like Wang Li and Lu Chaoga, who was closely monitored by the Jiang family? However, this answer was too shocking and cruel for Fang Yan. It turned out that the truth was not far away, but he was the only one who was kept in the dark. How can it not be related? Lu Shu corrected the problem in Lu Chaoga's words with a smile. If it wasn't for Mr. Fang's wonderful performance, how could our show go so smoothly? If it wasn't for his important appearance, how could you take revenge on Qiang Longtan and his son and get what you wanted? Also, the death of that security guard. Seems like Mr. Fang was very angry at that time. You should be in a better mood now, right? Lu Shu raised his cup to Fang Yan and said with a smile, Mr. Fang, I've always wanted to say something to thank you. But the last time we met, the time and place weren't right, so now I'll use tea in place of wine to toast you. With that, he finished the cup of warm tea in one gulp. Fang Yan's face was ashen, but he stood there without saying a word. At this time, words have lost the power they should have. Lu Shu felt bored, so he turned his eyes back to Lu Chaoga's face and said, Miss Lu Chaoga, it seems that your bodyguard, Mr. Fang, will no longer help you after knowing the truth about you deceiving him. If that's the case, you don't even have the last bit of capital to negotiate with me. In that case, things will become much simpler. He stretched out his hand to Lu Chaoga and said, You know you can't resist. So, give it to me. Give me everything I want. Lu Chaoga was as cold as ice, her fingernails pierced into her flesh and blood came out. She said, When I came in, I've already made my attitude clear. Let her go and guarantee our safety, otherwise, I'd rather destroy it. It's really surprising that you're so uncooperative. Lu Shu shook his head and sighed. Lu Chaoga, do you know? I've always had a high opinion of you. I feel that in this vast Huaqing, in terms of intelligence and endurance, no one is better than you. You clearly know that you can't reverse the situation, yet you insist on bargaining with me. What's the point? How can I guarantee your safety? If I say that as long as you give me the thing, I'll guarantee that you'll live a long and safe life, do you believe me? Lu Shu stood up. His body was tall and slender, and his temperament was outstanding. His eyes were deep, and his face was as handsome as a European male model. Huaqing's public lover was a well-deserved reputation. He walked in front of Lu Chaoga and said with a smile, You won't believe me. No matter what I say, you won't believe me. People like you won't believe anyone at all. I have to say, this is something that we can't imagine. Since verbal promises can't gain your trust, then we can only use our brains to think. What's in it for me to kill you? You should know, what I need is your father's work. Lu Jing, that trash, we sent him to hide for decades, but he still couldn't get the core technology we wanted. So, at this time, we have no choice but to ask you to help us. We were friends in the past, and will still be friends in the future, is that right? Chapter 184. I agree, Lu Chaoga said, decisive and without any hesitation. Lu Shu was slightly stunned, then laughed and gave Lu Chaoga a thumbs up. It seems that my evaluation is correct. When it comes to scheming and intelligence, you are the best in Huaqing. Those red foxes, poisonous spiders, and scholar Zhuang, none of them can compare to you. I just have nowhere else to go, Lu Chaoga said. I see the facts in front of me clearly, and I accept them. See and accept, Lu Shu said. There are too many people who see it clearly and don't accept it, and even more people who don't see it clearly and don't accept it. So, our deal is settled? Yes, Lu Chaoga said. I agree to transfer my father's technology to you for a fee. Transfer for a fee? Lu Shu's eyes turned cold. Tell me, what are your conditions? You should know that my father used his technology to buy shares, so he could get 49% of the Longtu Group's shares. If I transfer the technology to you, I will lose my shares and everything in the Longtu Group. I will be kicked out by the Longtu Group and Qiang Longtan and his son. I think the Lu family also hopes to plant a spy in Longtu, right? Lu Jing is dead, and you need a new person to slow down Longtu's progress. At least, it's a good thing to have someone to pass on information. I really need such a person. Lu Shu nodded. Anyone with foresight knows that energy is the core strategy and development direction of the future. The Lu family entered the energy field a long time ago. At that time, the Longtu Group hadn't been born yet. Even your parents and Qiang Longtan hadn't met yet. Unfortunately, some things can't be done by humans. It's all in the hands of God. Lu Shu said regretfully, our energy company's many years of hard work can't even compare to your father's idea. The Longtu Corporation caught up to us and stole our limelight as well as our orders. Of course, there's also the unpredictable future. However, we're not in a hurry at all. He had been waiting for an opportunity. Your father and Qiang Longtan didn't share the same ideals, so Qiang Longtan wanted to make your father a mere figurehead, so he secretly met with Lu Jing, wanting to poach Lu Jing to compete with your father. He even hoped that Lu Jing could improve the Rubik's Cube technology according to his own ideals. Haha, Qiang Longtan and your late father must not know that Lu Jing is a member of the Lu family. It's a pity that Lu Jing, that good-for-nothing, hasn't produced any results after joining Longtu Group for over 10 years. Otherwise, we wouldn't have wasted so much time and energy on him. Time is money, and no one can afford to waste it. Lu Chaoga stared coldly at the willow tree and said, Are you saying all this to reject my proposal? Not bad, said the willow tree. We gave Lu Jing a few decades, but what did he give us in return? He had nothing. Now, we have completely lost our patience. I don't believe it. Lu Chaoga, I don't believe that these two crazy women who want to eat me alive and drink my blood will do their best to help me. I don't believe it at all. Violence may not seem very civilized, but sometimes it's very useful, isn't it? The willow tree pointed at Wang Li, who was sitting on the chair and bleeding, and said, You give me the technology, and I'll give it to your aunt. This is our condition for the transfer. I don't agree, said Lu Chaoga. You should know that I'm not a generous man. The willow tree shrugged his shoulders indifferently. You don't have the capital to bargain with me. I want you to evaluate the Rubik's Cube technology or 49% of Longtu's shares, and then return what belongs to me, said Lu Chaoga. If you want the Rubik's Cube technology or Longtu Group's shares, I can sell them to you. But I want money. I want the same value as the technology and shares. Aunt's body needs a lot of expensive medicine to maintain, and the safety of me and her also needs to be guaranteed. Once I get the money, I will leave with Aunt. Otherwise, even if I give you the technology or shares, it will still be difficult for us to survive. What's the point of such an exchange? Lu Chaoga stared coldly at the willow tree, with a posture of giving up everything, including her life, and said, Aunt and I, what's the point of us living one more day? The willow tree frowned. From his point of view, Lu Chaoga's worry was indeed necessary. If she used the technology or shares to exchange for Aunt, the two of them, without any protection and dependence, even survival would be a luxury. At that time, they would be hit by a car while walking on the road, or burned to death in a house fire. It would all depend on their mood. The willow tree hesitated for a moment, and said, All right, I'll give you a price. A price that I can accept, and I hope you must accept. Because, on top of this price, you and Madame Wang's lives are also included. What do you think? The willow tree stretched out 2 fingers and said, This price, is it enough? I don't agree, said Lu Chaoga. Lu Chaoga. The willow tree's face was gloomy, and he sneered and said, Do you know what you're doing? I hope you'd better choose carefully. How careful do I need to be? Said Lu Chaoga. My life and Aunt's life are both here. You use our lives as a threat, I use mine and her life to discuss the conditions. It's fair to both of us. The willow tree's eyes flashed, and he said, I can't agree to your price. Then give me a price that I can really accept, said Lu Chaoga. It seems that we can't reach a consensus today. I can wait. What about her? The willow tree said with a smile. He looked at Wang Li with a smile and said, although our butcher's method of killing pigs is very clever, and he can at least let her bleed for 5 hours without dying. But now more than half of the time has passed, right? Are you sure you want to continue waiting? Lu Chaoga looked at Aunt Wang Li and asked, Aunt, are you willing to continue waiting? Yes, Wang Li shouted. I am willing. Haha, I'm already a dead person. I should have died long ago, what's there that I'm not willing to do? I'm already burned like this, my body is almost burnt to charcoal. What's there to be afraid of when you use a knife to cut my flesh? Good cut. I've long wanted to cut it to see. See if the flesh inside is red or black like the outside. Good cut cut open so that I can see that my flesh is also red, my blood is also red. Just like you guys. Wang Li's whole body was covered with scars, and her mind had entered a state of madness. She laughed out loud, as if it wasn't her flesh that was being cut, and it wasn't her blood that was flowing, and the pain was even more so not her body. The spirit and imposing manner that this woman displayed, as if she was facing death with equanimity, made everyone present feel deeply shocked. This woman who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, this woman who would fall with one push, this woman who could die at any time. She actually made these murderous fellows feel a chill down their spine. Lu Chaoga. Don't agree to them. Even if I die, don't agree to them. They're a bunch of mad dogs, they're demons. They'll get what they want, and then they'll kill us all. I've long known that such a day would come. I've been guarding against them. What you have now is what your parents left for you, they exchanged their lives for it. As long as you have those things, you can live, they won't be willing to touch you. Whether it's Qiang Longtan or Lu Yingyan, they won't dare to touch you. Lu Chaoga's eyes were red, she pointed at her Aunt Wang Li and said, she's willing to wait. Lunatic. Lu Shu scolded. Your whole family is lunatic. Lu Chaoga's face was expressionless, ignoring Lu Shu's insult, she just attentively waited for a result. If the result didn't come, she was willing to wait. The willow tree stretched out its palm and said, Lu Chaoga, this is the highest authority I have, and also the highest price I can give you. If you still don't agree, then let's end our negotiation here. Double. Lu Chaoga said in a straightforward tone. This number can let Aunt take medicine to prolong her life. This number can let us not worry about food and clothing outside. Lu Shu flew into a rage and scolded, Lu Chaoga, you stinking bitch, don't push your luck? Do you think I don't dare to kill you? Those things may not have much value in my hands, but in your hands. You know better than anyone else the profits they can bring you. If I die, you'll have nothing. Lu Chaoga said, you just said that you're not a generous man. Since you're not generous, then you certainly won't have a conflict with the huge and limitless money. I don't believe you have the guts to ask for the Rubik's Cube from Jiang family's father and son. As for other means, do you think your IQ is worthy of playing with them? Lu Shu laughed, his expression was ferocious, but he was able to make a sneering sound. Lu Chaoga, I really chose the right opponent. If I knew that I was raising a tiger, I should have gotten rid of you early that year. In that case, why do I need to waste my breath now? I really feel sorry for you. Lu Chaoga said coldly. Lu Shu stared at Lu Chaoga for a long time and said, I can't make the decision on this number. Then call Lu Yingyan. The muscles on Lu Shu's face twitched. He took out his mobile phone from his pocket and walked to the window. Soon enough, he came back to the group. Obviously, the other side had made the final decision. He looked at Lu Chaoga and said, Congratulations. Deal. Lu Shu clapped his hands, and a man wearing glasses sent a thick stack of documents. Lu Shu pointed to the documents and said to Lu Chaoga, Sign on it, and the money will be transferred to your designated account. Lu Chaoga pointed to Fang Yen and said, "Transfer the money to his account." Fang Yen was shocked. He thought that although this woman deceived him, she was generous and loyal. A flaw cannot obscure a jade. Chapter 185. Everyone stared at Lu Chaoga, dumbfounded. Even Wang Li, who was suffering from torture, was shocked. Of course, because of her skin condition, her shocked expression was not very obvious. "Lu Chaoga, are you crazy?" The willow tree looked at Lu Chaoga and said, "Do you know how much that is? That is 1 billion. What if he doesn't admit it? What if he doesn't give it to you? Do you know what you are doing? You are playing with fire." Wang Li also shouted in a hoarse voice, "Lu Chaoga, you actually believed a man. Stupid. Stupid. In this world, where is there a man worthy of trust? No, not even one. You can't do this. You will destroy everything, you will have nothing. Lu Chaoga, I won't allow you to do this." Lu Chaoga was unmoved, calmly looked at the willow tree and said, "This is my money, I have the right to dispose of it. This does not violate our negotiation conditions, right?" The willow tree nodded. "But you have betrayed him, why would he help you?" The willow tree looked at Fang Yen with a smile and said, "I don't think he is a gentleman. Besides, even if he is a gentleman also loves money, right?" "I believe him," Lu Chaoga said. "In such a situation, do you think that we, 2 weak women, can leave this city with 1 billion yuan? I think, with your style of doing things, I am afraid that the completion of our transaction will be the best time for you to take action, right?" No. The willow tree shook his head. "Although I am not a generous man, I am a sentimental man. Towards women, especially the women I like, I still know how to be tender to the fairer sex. Even if you don't do it yourself, you will spread the news. At that time, all kinds of people, killers, gangsters, they will also come looking for me. How can I deal with them? What can I use to stop them? Instead of letting you or them take the money, it is better to give it to the people who have helped me." The willow tree laughed and said, "What if I don't do it and don't spread the news? Won't you suffer a great loss? If you don't do anything, then he will temporarily keep the money for me. I believe in his character. I believe in him more than I believe in you," Lu Chaoga said. "As long as the money isn't with us, it's meaningless for you to kill us. It's just 2 murders on you. I don't think young Master Lu would do such a stupid thing." "Wonderful." The willow tree applauded. "To be honest, you women really bring me surprises all the time. The problem is, even if I transfer the money to his account, what if I kill both of you at the same time after the contract is signed?" "You can't do it," Lu Chaoga said. "If that's the case, I have to transfer the money to his account. If he can take risks for me, why can't I take risks for him?" "That makes sense." The willow tree looked at Fang Yen and said, "I hope you won't disappoint her trust in you. However, don't you care that she's using you?" "Oh no, it's not that she's using you, but she's using you again. I know you're good. If you're not here, I don't even know what I'll do." "What does it have to do with you?" Fang Yen said with a sneer. "Whether I give it to her or not, it's between me and her. Do I need you to arrange it in the middle? Blocking someone's path to wealth was like killing their parents. This guy actually dared to stop him from getting rich. It really made Fang Yen angry. "I'm just saying." The willow tree raised his hand in surrender. "I'm just talking too much. Since she asked us to transfer the money to your account, then provide your Swiss bank account." Fang Yen was stunned for a moment and said, "Swiss bank? Can't China CITIC Bank do?" The willow tree's eyes made Fang Yen feel that he was being despised. He said angrily, "How many people with a salary of 3,000 yuan a month want to open an account in a Swiss bank?" "As you wish." The willow tree said indifferently, "As long as the money is transferred to you smoothly, it's fine." Fang Yen provided his bank card information. This was the card that must be used when working at school. The monthly salary would be directly transferred to this card. After getting the information, the willow tree sent out the number. After a while, the willow tree received a feedback message. After he answered a phone call, he said to Fang Yan, the money has been transferred to the card. You can check it. I know, Fang Yan said. He had received the payment information sent by the bank with a text message on his mobile phone. He didn't know what the consideration of the sender was. The limit of each transfer was 50 million yuan, and the same amount was transferred 20 times. After counting the zeros for a while, Fang Yan said, the number is correct. Lu Xiaoga didn't talk nonsense and simply signed her name on the contract. Lu Xiaoga, you idiot! Wang Li almost went mad with anger. You'll regret it. You'll definitely regret it. What Lu Xiaoga gave to Fang Yan was what she had now. That was what her parents exchanged for with their lives. It was Wang Li's lifelong effort and painstaking effort. Now, Lu Xiaoga gave it to Fang Yan so easily, to a man who was still quite strange to them. Wang Li's legs were bleeding, her heart was bleeding, and her body was almost about to explode. The bespectacled middle-aged man put away the contract, put it in a password box, and immediately left the scene under the escort of a few armed men in black. These people were quite professional and extremely vigilant. From now on, the 49% of Long2 Group's shares held by Lu Xiaoga and the core technology related to the Rubik's Cube under these shares would be changed to be owned by the Willow Tree. They only needed to make some supplementary procedures. This was not a problem at all for the Lu family with a deep background. The Willow Tree looked at Fang Yan and Lu Xiaoga and said, it was really wonderful. This was the most unforgettable negotiation I've ever experienced. Lu Xiaoga, you're really a fearsome opponent. I have to say, it was very pleasant to work with you. At the same time, it was also frightening. However, it's because of this different feeling that I'm still looking forward to our next cooperation. Thank you for your compliment. Lu Xiaoga said. I don't want to have another chance to work with you. Once in a lifetime is enough. That's a pity. The Willow Tree shrugged and said helplessly. Although I'm a little reluctant, there's no such thing as a never-ending banquet in this world. This big show is still coming to an end. The Willow Tree said. We've disturbed you for too long. It's time for us to leave. Everyone, goodbye. After getting what he wanted, the Willow Tree didn't even look at Wang Li. For him, it was really something that affected his appetite. He needed good wine, he needed beautiful girls. He needed a beautiful and sexy drunkenness. Fang Yan suddenly shouted. The Willow Tree stopped and turned around. He looked at Fang Yan with great interest and said, Mr. Fang, is there anything else? You finished talking about your matters, but we haven't started talking about ours yet. Why are you in such a hurry to leave? Fang Yan said aloud. Really? What do you want to talk to me about? You hurt me, shouldn't you give me some compensation? Fang Yan said. I'm not a person without a temper. What compensation do you want? How about giving me 1 billion? The Willow Tree laughed loudly, extremely proud and arrogant. While he was laughing, more than a dozen bodyguards inside and outside the study surrounded Fang Yan. There were also several guys holding guns, and the cold muzzles were aimed at Fang Yan's chest or head. Are you sick? The Willow Tree's laughter stopped abruptly, and he said in an unfriendly tone. Mr. Fang, you just got 1 billion. That money is enough for you to squander for a lifetime. You can live in the best house, drive the most expensive car, and play with the sexiest woman in the world. Do you know that? What you did should have been done by me. I also thought about killing all of you after the contract was signed. It should be mine, and no one can take it away. You're afraid of failure. You don't dare to take risks. Fang Yan said. If you don't want to give me 1 billion, then I'll take one of your legs. That's not too much, right? The muscles on Lu Shujun's face twitched twice, and he said in a sharp voice, the reason why I didn't do that is because I just think. What was that sentence again? Leave a line in life, and you'll meet again in the future. I've been using this sentence to encourage myself, and I'm also giving it to you to learn. Afraid? That's a big joke. This room, including this courtyard, are all my people inside and outside. My people have guns in their hands, and every muzzle is aimed at you. Why would I be afraid? Why would I be afraid? Lu Shu looked at Lu Xiaoga and kindly reminded her, I don't mind wasting time, But I think your aunt can't hold on any longer. Lu Chaoga looked at her aunt, Wang Li. Her body was getting weaker and weaker. After the madness, her physical strength was overdrawn, and it seemed that she really couldn't hold on any longer. It's just a leg, I don't need too much time. Fang Yan said. Shoot. Lu Shu shouted. The bodyguards received the order, but before they could pull the trigger, Fang Yan had casually pulled out a book from the bookcase behind him, tore off a stack of pages, and threw them toward the bodyguards in black. The soft paper was infused with the power of Tai Chi, and it actually split into pieces, and each piece was as hard as a knife. They seemed to have eyes, and with the whistling sound of the wind, they charged toward all the enemies in front of them. Whoosh, 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 the bodyguards in black were cut one after another, and the guns in their hands were scattered on the ground. Flowers and leaves could hurt people, but paper was like a knife. Chapter 186. Victory or Defeat in a Breath's Time. Fang Yan was right, the time he used was very short. Very, very short. He didn't even have time to blink his eyes. This battle that Lu Shu thought would be fierce, long and cruel was already over. The truth was too cruel. Apart from Lu Shu, none of the bodyguards who stood in front of him were spared. Some people's noses were cut off, some people's fingers were cut off, and some people's faces were cut open, revealing the white bones inside. They lay on the ground, screaming and wailing in pain. They had completely lost their previous awe-inspiring ferocious appearance that made people's hearts beat rapidly. He's a monster. He's a monster. A bodyguard in black who was not very knowledgeable was lying on the ground, pointing at Fang Yan and shouting in horror. He used witchcraft. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't know witchcraft, how could he hurt them like this with just a few pieces of paper? Monster? Fang Yan sneered. That was only because their starting point was too low, and they saw too little. There was a saying that the ancients scattered beans to form soldiers and crossed the river on a reed. Fang Yan didn't see it with his own eyes, nor did he hear of such a master from his family or elders. Just like the rest of the world, he thought it was a made-up myth. But flying flowers and leaves to hurt people, flying on roofs and walls, flying on water, these really do exist. Fang Yan saw with his own eyes. The Lingnan wild crane Zhang Shizong only used 2 pieces of bark from a tree to cross the river. The Shaolin Temple Scripture Hall's Elder Jiji's lion roar could break wood and split stone, injuring people's bones and organs. The Changbai Eagle King's iron claws could break through steel. From strength to qi, from qi to dan. This was a necessary path for those who pursued martial Dao. Zhang Chen was at the stage of using strength, while Fang Yan was at the stage of using qi. If he met a grandmaster who used Dan, then, no matter where Fang Yan was, if he was followed by such a master, Fang Yan would only have one end, death. But, in this big world, how many grandmasters could practice immortal Dan? Of course, this was a secret of the martial Dao world. Whether it was the bodyguards lying on the ground or the rich young master Lu Shu, this was something they had never encountered before. To them, it was a strange, novel, and frightening world. Lu Shu's complexion was deathly pale, his eyes firmly staring at Fang Yan. How did he do it? Even now, the willow tree still found it hard to accept everything that had just happened. He didn't think that Fang Yan was a monster, but he knew the skills of his bodyguards very well. They were elites he had hired from various martial arts schools or bodyguard companies with high salaries. The other 2 were old men who followed his father. They were extremely powerful, and it was not a problem for them to fight 3 to 5 people alone. The 2 experts he had asked for from his father's side were fighting 1 against 10 as if it were child's play. However, why were they so weak in front of Fang Yan? Why did they crumble at the slightest touch? Also, that paper, he had seen it with his own eyes. It was a book that Fang Yan had randomly pulled out from the bookshelf. Just a few pieces of paper torn from the book, how could it cut off a person's fingers? Since you asked, I don't mind giving you a demonstration. Fang Yan said. His left hand held half of the book, and the right hand tore out a page and lightly flicked it between his fingers. The white paper flew towards the willow tree, flew past his cheek, and then fiercely pierced into the wall behind the willow tree. A thin red line appeared on the willow tree's face, and then the red line began to thicken. As the blood around the red line gathered more and more, it began to flow downwards. Thus, the willow tree's face became bright red. The willow tree stretched out his hand to touch it, but another piece of paper flew over. 2 of the willow tree's fingers were cut off. The severed fingers fell to the ground, but they were still slightly trembling. "Don't move," Fang Yan said. "Don't move. What are you trying to do?" The 10 fingers were connected to the heart, and the willow tree was trembling in pain. "Negotiate," Fang Yan said. "Negotiate what? What do I have to negotiate with you? What's there to negotiate?" The willow tree was furious. The wound on his face grew larger, and the blood flowed faster and faster. The blood flowed down his face, nose, lips, and then into his mouth. He couldn't wipe it and didn't dare to move. He could only let it flow freely, and his mouth was filled with blood. Fang Yan tore out another piece of paper and lightly flicked it. The other side of the willow tree's face was cut. Just like before, a red line appeared where the white paper had cut, and then it spread into a small river and finally flowed all over his face, mouth, and body. Both his cheeks were injured, and both were bleeding. This was the willow tree's most embarrassing and unlucky moment. "Don't be angry," Fang Yan said. "Anger won't solve the problem." "Fang Yan, I'm warning you, don't." Whoosh! This time, the white paper cut between the willow tree's eyebrows. The paper knife made a small cut between his eyebrows. "I don't want to warn you," Fang Yan said. "I don't like people warning me." The willow tree felt wronged and sad. "Didn't you warn me just now? You said if I didn't give you 1 billion, you'd take away one of my legs. Why can you warn me and I can't warn you?" "I'm warning you, I'm warning you. If you don't hit me, I'll definitely warn you. What do you want?" The willow tree asked. "I told you. 1 billion in compensation or one of your legs." "Impossible." "No rush. We can talk slowly," Fang Yan said. "Just like how you forced Headmaster Lu to sign the agreement, you said she didn't have any other choice. I don't think you have any other choice." "You don't dare to kill me," the willow tree sneered. "Fang Yan, you don't dare to kill me. Even if you kill me, do you think you can kill everyone in this house? Just now, someone sent out the contract. They're all witnesses. If I die, you won't be able to escape either. When that time comes, no matter how big the world is, there won't be a place for you. You'll lose your reputation and everything you have right now. You'll have to hide everywhere under the name of a murderous demon. Fang Yan, don't take the risk." A paper knife slashed across the willow tree's face, then flew into the study's door. With a bang, the paper knife pierced through the wooden door and disappeared without a trace. "Honestly, you're really not a likable person," Fang Yan said. "You're always acting like you're above everyone else, like there's no one you can't defeat, and there's nothing you can't do. Of course, I can't kill you openly. How can a good person casually kill others? I can't kill you, but I can destroy you. Don't you call yourself Huaqing's public lover? What kind of shameless person would give themselves such a nickname?" Although Fang Yan hadn't torn the paper, the willow tree already felt that he had been stabbed. This time, it was a stab to the heart. "Please, public lover is a nickname given to me by others. What does it have to do with me? How could I do such a thing?" "I don't like it," Fang Yan said. Seeing the smile and evil look on Fang Yan's face, the willow tree shouted warily, "Fang Yan, what do you want to do?" "Destroy you," Fang Yan said. Fang Yan began to tear the paper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The willow tree was scared out of his wits, and his legs trembled. This guy tore so many pieces of paper. How many knives did he prepare? He turned around and wanted to escape, but wouldn't it be too embarrassing to escape in front of his opponent? He thought again. At this time, if he didn't run, he would lose face. Thus, the willow tree turned around and wanted to escape from the study, which was no different to a slaughterhouse. Fang Yan raised his hand. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The stack of paper turned into flying knives, flying towards the willow tree's face and body. Thump. The willow tree couldn't dodge in time and fell to the ground. His clothes were in tatters, cut by the paper knives, and his clothes were in tatters. What was even more shocking was his face. His face was covered in wounds. Countless wounds seeped out countless strands of blood, the blood strands crisscrossed and connected, like a strange red electric net. With such injuries, even if the Dr. King Chin Luo personally treated him, it would be difficult for him to recover. The elegant young master of Huaqing yesterday had become the ugly Spider-Man of today. The willow tree lost his public lover title, and Fang Yen had moved up one place on the Huaqing handsome man list. Fang Yen used his strength very cleverly, destroying his appearance, making it difficult for him to be treated, but not letting him bleed to death. Even now, the willow tree was still conscious. He felt an unbearable itch on his face, as if there were countless ants crawling and biting his face, but he didn't dare to touch it. His eyes were blurry, and his eyelashes were stained with blood. Fang Yen walked over, squatted in front of the willow tree, and said, "Your heart is too dark, you should take it out to bask in the sunlight." As Fang Yen spoke, he grabbed the willow tree's collar. He used a bit of force, and dragged the willow tree's body up from the ground. He dragged the willow tree to the window of the study, and suddenly pulled open the thick and stale curtains. Large amounts of light poured in, illuminating the damp and moldy study without any dark corners. The room was filled with a fragrant smell. It was the dead bodies of mite and mold. Wang Li painfully closed her eyes. She couldn't get used to this kind of light. She hadn't opened the curtains for decades. Never before. Fang Yen opened the window and lifted the willow tree's body out of the window. The willow tree's body hung in the air and could fall at any time. What are you doing?" The willow tree was really scared. He asked in shock. "You can't kill me, you said. You only want one of my legs." "I did say that." Fang Yen was a bit embarrassed, as if he had lied to someone before, and patiently explained, "I was worried that if I said it too seriously, you would resist too fiercely." Fang Yan's fingers loosened, and the willow tree's body fell. Bathed in the sunlight, the wind by his ears. Chapter 187. All dead. The young man sitting on the sofa asked in a deep voice. Gloomy. Handsome. He held a glass of whiskey with ice in his hand, the amber liquid swaying in the transparent glass. A Poland versus Argentina football game was playing on the big screen. The TV was silent, like a pantomime chasing after intense skills. An old man in a suit stood behind the sofa and said softly, "All dead." "Did you find the bodies?" "Found them." The old man said, "They were not treated badly. They all died well." The young man raised his head and drank the glass in one gulp. He turned the empty glass in one hand and said sarcastically, "They really cherish heroes." That Fang Yan's strength is indeed unfathomable. He is not someone ordinary people can deal with. The old man said, "You're too weak. Still too impatient." The young man said, "If we wait a little longer, maybe we won't be so passive." In this gamble, he had lost half of the dragon diagram. What a pity. It's just a beautiful empty shell. Losing is losing. Young master will always have a chance to turn things around. The old man gently advised. "That's right. But I still feel a little uncomfortable. This is what I have been advising young master. Draw the knife and see blood. If you can't see blood, then don't let people know that you are holding a knife in your hand. After this lesson, young master will think more comprehensively and thoughtfully in the future. It's not a bad thing." "How do I compare with him?" the young man asked. The old man was silent. "Just say it." "It's hard to say." "What's hard to say?" "Young master, I understand. But I can't see through it." "Fang Yen, I thought I understood and I thought I saw through it. In fact, I didn't understand and didn't see through it." The old man said, "I saw him standing there, stabbed him with the knife, and found that it was only his shadow. What a difficult guy." The man smiled bitterly. "Say, isn't this the so-called fate? When the time is right, why did he appear? This is fate." The man said. A car horn sounded outside. The old man glanced at the man and said, "Young master, the master is here. Secretary Li called me just now." "What is he doing here?" The man frowned. He downed the whiskey in his glass in one gulp and said, "Go out and get it." The car stopped in the courtyard, and Jiang Zhulu quickly walked over to open the door. He said with a smile, "Dad, why are you here? Can't we talk about it when we get back?" With your mother nagging at home, it's not easy for us father and son to have a conversation. Qiang Long Tan said aloud. "Let's go. Come and play with me. Bend over. Swing. Putt." The white ball flew straight to the green. "Good ball," Jiang Zhulu praised loudly. "Dad, you're still young. You almost hit the hole in one shot." A hole-in-one depends on skill, and even more on luck. "It doesn't count," Qiang Long Tan said as he walked toward the landing spot with the club in his hand. He stood on the green and gently pushed the small ball into the hole with the putter. He said, "I'd rather make one more putt to ensure that the ball goes into the hole smoothly. A ball in the hole is a good ball. Otherwise, no matter how beautiful your swing is, you won't score." Jiang Zhulu knew that there was a deeper meaning in his father's words, so he nodded and said, "Dad, I understand." "You don't understand." Qiang Long Tan shook his head and said without giving his son any face. Jiang Zhulu smiled bitterly and said, "It seems that I've done something to make you unhappy again? You can't wait for me to go home and come here to teach me a lesson. Do you know who has been hiding behind the scenes and going against our Jiang family?" Qiang Long Tan handed the club in his hand to Secretary Li behind him, took the towel to wipe his hands and asked aloud, "Dad, if I don't even know this, you must be quite disappointed in me, right?" Jiang Zhulu said with a smile. The Lu family established the earliest energy company in Huaqing, and our Longtu group came later to take over. It's natural for them to play some tricks behind the scenes. We've also given them a lot of tricks, haven't we? We all know each other very well. Then do you know that they have far more information than we think? Qiang Long Tan said. "What do they have?" Jiang Zhulu asked. "Lu Mingtu." Qiang Long Tan said these three words in a cold voice. "What?" Jiang Zhulu was shocked. "Looks like we father and son should have a good chat. Now that the situation has changed, the Jiang family's winter has come. That incident happened overseas without anyone knowing. How could he know the truth of this matter?" Jiang Zhulu said. "Moreover, the ones who did it were all foreigners, and now all of them are dead. Even if they investigate, they won't be able to find you." Qiang Long Tan's expression was cold as he said, "What if Wang Li didn't die?" "Lu Chaoga's aunt? Wang Li didn't die? How could she? Where is she?" Jiang Zhulu looked at his father in surprise and said, "You failed? I was too careless. If I had used another method, this wouldn't have happened." Qiang Long Tan said with slight regret. "However, it's fortunate that she escaped death and came back to life. If she died, there would be no more hope. Those things would forever be a secret. What a pity." "I don't understand," Jiang Zhulu said. "I have to admit that Lu Mingtu is a genius scientist. 20 years ago, his research in the field of energy was already at the forefront of the world. Even now, the Rubik's Cube technology is still a difficult problem that energy research labs around the world are working hard to solve. At that time, my views and his were divergent. I hoped to use the Rubik's Cube technology for military use. In that case, we could get a lot of orders from the military. But he wanted the Rubik's Cube to be used for civilian use. He didn't want the thing he created to become a tool to kill people or participate in war. What a smart and pedantic guy. My views and his were opposing, and the contradiction grew bigger and bigger. The work of the research lab could only be temporarily put on hold. Later, I found Lu Jing to replace him. Lu Jing is a member of the Lu family. He has a mistress who gave birth to a son for him. His Swiss bank account often receives large amounts of money. I found a hacker to track it, and the money came from an import and export trading company under the Lu family. Jiang Zhulu said, "I warned you before. How could I not notice such an obvious spy?" Jiang Long said, "There must be something wrong when something is out of the ordinary. After Lu Mingtu died, Lu Jing and I never contacted each other. The strange thing is, he obviously hated me, but he didn't want to leave Longtu. So, isn't it easy to guess what he was plotting? Then why didn't you replace him?" I didn't replace him because I wanted my opponents to watch me, so they could see what I was doing, Qiang Longtan said. If a spy's IQ isn't high enough, then who can be sure that he won't be used by us? He's dead. His death has nothing to do with me. Qiang Longtan sternly interrupted his son's words. This is part of their plan. Lu Chaoga had just been killed in a car accident. Everyone was pointing their fingers at me. Just when countless people were blaming and attacking me, Lu Jing suddenly jumped out and made a scene, and was smashed to death by a pot of water as soon as he left the house. This really put me in a dilemma, and it's hard to clear my name. The Lu family controlled Wang Li, so father didn't dare to push Lu Chaoga too hard all these years. Jiang Zhulu asked curiously. I always thought that she should have disappeared a long time ago. What good does the existence of such a person do us? I was fishing, Qiang Longtan said. If you want to catch a big fish with delicious meat, you need to have bait that the big fish likes. Lu Chaoga is the most suitable bait, and I've been using it for 20 years. Just when the fish was about to bite, you smashed it away with a stone. Wang Li? She's a useless person, what's there to fish? Jiang Zhulu said disdainfully. I thought so too. Qiang Longtan shook his head and sighed. So, I wanted to erase her from this world. Only dead people can keep secrets. The fewer people who know about it, the safer and more beneficial it is for us. In the end, I was the one in the wrong. Lu Mingtu, that idiot, actually started to play tricks on me. What did he do? Jiang Zhulu asked. After Lu Mingtu's death, I found a notebook in the crevice of his desk. It turns out that he had already solved the final problem of the Rubik's Cube technology, allowing it to be widely used in the civilian sector. Jiang Zhulu was shocked. What about the Rubik's Cube? The real Rubik's Cube is in Wang Li's hands. That's my suspicion. Qiang Longtan said. Wang Li was the closest person to Lu Mingtu and his wife. He often wrote about this in his diary. Moreover, Wang Li herself is also involved in energy research. When Lu Mingtu was the head of the research room, Wang Li was still Lu Mingtu's assistant. Lu Mingtu is likely to have handed over the mature Rubik's Cube technology to Wang Li. The Lu family doesn't know. Jiang Zhulu asked a crucial question. How could they know? Qiang Longtan sneered. If they knew, would Wang Li still be alive? Would Lu Chaoga still be alive? Jiang Zhulu didn't say another word. It was too complicated. It was 100 times more complicated than he had imagined. He knew that his father was wise and decisive, but sometimes he was too sentimental. He had thought that his father had kept Lu Chaoga alive because he couldn't bear to hurt her, and that he wanted to turn her into a true member of the Jiang family. Jiang Zhulu was willing to cooperate, hoping that he could win the girl's heart. As it turned out, she was his father's bait. His father wanted Wang Li to take the bait and contact Lu Chaoga first. To his surprise, Wang Li was able to restrain herself and didn't care about Lu Chaoga at all. And to prevent the Lu family from getting the Rubik's Cube technology, his father had to keep it a secret. However, all of this had been destroyed by him. I can already tell that Wang Li and Chaoga are contacting each other. I can see it in the way Lu Chaoga looks at me. I want to give them some time, and give me some time as well. I've been waiting for more than 20 years. Why wait a day or two? Some talented actors, or actors who think they are always impatient and eager to prove themselves. Qiang Longtan looked at Jiang Zhulu with pity in his eyes. You've done it the other night. Chapter 188. It was a beautiful day, with clear waters and beautiful mountains. In this picturesque holy land, two men stood on the soft lawn and chatted. What he was talking about was not a trivial family affair, but a sinister and bloody plot. The dagger was revealed when the plot was revealed. Qiang Longtan looked at Jiang Zhulu with a gentle gaze. There wasn't much anger or blame in his eyes, but more of an education and warning to his son. He said, "You shouldn't have been in such a hurry to make a move on Lu Chaoga." Lu Chaoga's car accident had been planned by Jiang Zhulu. He had just had a heart-to-heart chat with Lu Chaoga, and in the blink of an eye, he had suffered a fatal attack. Who could have imagined that he, Jiang Zhulu, was the one behind it? Moreover, Jiang Zhulu had been the #1 pursuer and guardian of Lu Chaoge for many years. Hu and Huaqing didn't know about his deep feelings for her. Everyone in the world could be a suspect, but he would also be the safest one. Jiang Zhulu thought that his perfect psychological battle was full of flaws in his father's eyes. "I didn't know you were fishing," Jiang Zhulu said. He blamed himself, regretted, and also angry at his father. "Why didn't you discuss such an important matter with me?" "Discuss what?" Qiang Longtan asked. "Do you think I need to discuss it with you?" Jiang Zhulu was speechless. His father still treated him as an insensible child. Or rather, he still felt that he was too immature to fight alongside him for the future of the Jiang family. "I had to do it," Jiang Zhulu said. "I felt that Lu Chaoge's attitude towards us was getting colder and colder. She was getting further and further away from us. She and that Fang Yan were getting closer and closer. I felt that we were about to lose control of her. Didn't you notice? She's starting to become aggressive." I know all about it. I don't blame you for this." Qiang Longtan said, "Most things in the world are like this. Setting a trap, solving a trap, solving a trap, setting a trap." It was just that his identity was constantly changing. Last time, it was you who set up a trap to kill Lu Chaoge. In the end, Lu Chaoge was lucky enough to be saved by her benefactor, Fang Yan. The Lu family followed closely behind and made their move. They let their pawn in Longtu group, Lu Jing, jump out and attack me. Then, they immediately got rid of this pawn and pushed all the blame onto me. They're pressing on, wanting to ruin my reputation and kill me. That's why I turned the tables. Counterattack. Jiang Zhulu looked at Qiang Longtan with a puzzled expression and asked, "What did you do this time?" "Give Lu Chaoge the shares she deserves," Qiang Longtan said with a smile. "You set this up?" Jiang Zhulu was shocked. Wasn't this the last resort that the Jiang father and son had to make in order to prove their innocence after being repeatedly pressured? That was how the outside observers interpreted it. Even Jiang Zhulu himself thought so. It was also for this reason that Jiang Zhulu felt guilty towards his father. He felt that it was because he didn't get things done that Lu Chaoge cut a piece of Longtu group. If the old monster's attack was successful that night, Lu Chaoge would have died on the spot. How could there be so many troubles after that? "Do you remember what your grandfather said about me?" Qiang Longtan asked aloud. To be honest, even though it was his father standing in front of him, Jiang Zhulu still felt that this question was quite embarrassing. He didn't know how to answer it at all. Usually, everyone avoided talking about it. Why did his father bring up this old matter today? "A yellow ox and a dog." Qiang Longtan answered this embarrassing answer himself. "The first time I went to the Ren family to visit your grandparents, I played a game of chess with your grandfather. Before the game was over, your grandfather said these words to me, 'A yellow ox and a dog.' A yellow ox means that I have a calm temperament. When I play chess, I don't fight, I don't want to be greedy, I don't take risks, I push forward step by step, and I don't hesitate to work hard." Qiang Longtan said with a smile. He wasn't angry because this was not a compliment. "A dog means that I am quiet, but I am always looking for opportunities. Once I find a flaw in my opponent, I will immediately pounce on it. I accept this evaluation." Jiang Zhulu tried to squeeze out a natural smile and said, "I also don't think my grandfather is derogatory. Otherwise, why would he agree to marry my mother to you?" Qiang Longtan shook his head and asked, "What do you know about dogs?" "Dogs? It's their nature to attack. If you are targeted by more than 2 dogs at the same time, they will follow you and bark at you, looking for opportunities to pounce on you at any time. But if you throw a bone at them, at this time, they will change their target to fight for that bone. They will be enemies and bite each other. The shares you gave to Lu Chaoge is that bone?" Qiang Longtan nodded. Lu Chaoge owns 49% of the shares of Longtu Group. She got what she deserved. Isn't this the reason why they worked so hard and calculated? I will give them whatever they want. And then? Will the Lu family let go of such a big piece of meat? Will they restrain themselves from attacking Lu Chaoge and Wang Li? 2 peaches kill 3 soldiers. This is the principle. Nothing in the world is difficult for those who put their minds to it. Think about it, and there is nothing that can't be solved. Jiang Zhulu was deeply shocked. He had always thought that he was a genius, one of the few smart people in the world. He was praised by everyone as one of the 4 prodigies of Huaqing. He was young, strong, and compared to his father, he was more ruthless. Father is old. This was not the first time he had thought this. Now, he finally understood how deep and powerful his father was. The difference between him and his father was like the difference between heaven and earth. My prediction was right. The Lu family couldn't help but make a move on Lu Chaoga. They held Wang Li hostage and wanted to force Lu Chaoga to transfer her shares and the Rubik's Cube technology to them. Jiang Zhulu was shocked and asked, "When did this happen?" "Just now." Qiang Longtan said. "I got the news on my way here." "And the result?" Jiang Zhulu asked. "We really met a rare opponent." Qiang Longtan smiled bitterly. This round was solved by Lu Chaoga, or Fang Yan, who was by Lu Chaoga's side. Solved. I just got the news that Lu Shu accidentally fell from a building and is now hospitalized with serious injuries. We don't know if he's dead or alive. Qiang Longtan said. We don't know if he's dead or alive. Lu Shu's face became very serious. Fang Yan made a move on them? He dared to beat Lu Shu to the point where we don't know if he's dead or alive. Is he crazy? He's not crazy, Qiang Longtan said. He calculated that the Lu family wouldn't dare to make this matter public. That's why he dared to be so heavy-handed. The Lu family's reaction was just as he guessed. They explained to the outside world that Lu Shu accidentally fell from a building. How did he fall? They didn't say a word about who made him fall. It seems that their deal failed. Jiang Zhulu sneered. The Lu family is really funny. They planned for so many years and spent so much time and energy. What did they get in the end? Not only did they not get anything, but they also lost Lu Shu. I hope that Lu Shu can't be saved. If that's the case, will that old fox Lu Yingyan let it go? No, the deal was successful. Qiang Longtan corrected Jiang Zhulio's point of view and said, although I don't know the specific conditions for now, but according to the report from the ants I left in the Lu family, they did get the transfer contract signed by Lu Chaoga. This is what I'm really worried about. Lu Shu was injured, but the deal was successful? Jiang Zhulu couldn't understand at all. Lu Chaoga and that Fang Yan, what did they want to do? Yes, Lu Shu's life and death are unknown. None of his bodyguards were spared, but they signed a contract with Lu Shu. Is it just for money? I don't think it's that simple. What do they want to do? Jiang Zhulu asked. He felt dizzy from his father's train of thought. No, he was completely confused by this matter. Although I was forced by them, if I didn't want them to kill each other, I wouldn't have given away the shares of Longtu Group so easily. Although we control Longtu's core assets, Longtu itself is still a powerful existence. Just this brand alone is worth a lot. If it's not necessary, we definitely won't give up this beautiful shell. Think about it. If the Lu family used a very high price to get the transfer contract from Lu Chaoga, then would they be willing to give it up so easily? Jiang Zhulio's thoughts instantly became clear. He exclaimed, in other words, the current Longtu Group actually belongs to the joint ownership of the Jiang family and the Lu family? That be asterisk Tish Lu Chaoga didn't want to play anymore and quit? Yes, she quit. She took a huge sum of money and the real Rubik's Cube technology and left. Qiang Longtan's face showed deep worry. We and the Lu family will reveal our true intentions on the battlefield of Longtu Group. We will fight in close quarters for the core assets and business of Longtu. If that part of the shares is in Lu Chaoga's hands, no matter what we do in secret, even if she knows, she can't do anything. But if our opponent is the Lu family, do you really think that the things we transferred earlier are foolproof? That be asterisk Jiang Zhulu gritted his teeth and cursed. What a deep scheme. She used the conflict between the Jiang family and the Lu family to play all of us in the palm of her hand. Driving the tiger to swallow the wolf, Qiang Longtan said with a sigh. Driving the tiger to swallow the wolf, what a good move. Zhulu, you're not as good as them. Now, Lu Chaoga has set up a trap and is waiting for the Jiang and Lu families to solve it. Chapter 189. Since ancient times, there has been a saying, medicine and martial arts are inseparable. Fang Yan is a first-rate martial arts master and a third-rate doctor. Who wouldn't be stabbed in the martial arts world? Giving yourself some emergency treatment after being stabbed is the key to saving your life. If you have to crawl to find a doctor after being seriously injured, you won't be able to survive even if you have 9 lives. Even those who sold dog skin plasters in the market shouted that after you hit me, 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 you stick on the plaster. After 3 to 5 minutes, the scars would disappear. A plaster was only 10 yuan, buy 3 get 1 free, the price was reasonable and there was even free shipping included. Because Wang Li was seriously injured, not only her skin was burned, but even her internal organs were also severely weakened due to the invasion of the fire. For so many years, she relied on the expensive medicine provided by the Lu family to maintain her life. Wang Li's body was weak, plus she was seriously injured and lost a lot of blood. After seeing Fang Yan throw Lu Shu downstairs, she directly fainted. Fang Yan took the whole medicine pot from the kitchen, put the medicine into a bowl to cool, then spread out a piece of sterilized gauze, poured the hot medicine dregs into the emery cloth, put the medicine pot in place, and carefully wrapped the gauze. Fang Yan personally used a pair of scissors to cut open Wang Li's pants, revealing her charred, pitch-black skin that was too horrible to look at. There were also several fresh wounds, which were just cut by Lu Shu's subordinate, Butcher. Lu Chaoga's eyes were red, clenched her fists, and didn't say a word. Fang Yan wrapped the gauze with the medicine dregs around the wound on Wang Li's leg. Wang Li's body suddenly twitched, and the upper half of her body bounced up from the bed. Because of the pain in her legs, she also woke up from her unconscious state. Fang Yan firmly pressed her legs, not letting her lower body move. Until Wang Li was able to adapt to the heat and stimulation of the medicine dregs, and when she gradually calmed down, he wrapped her whole long leg again. After tying up one leg, Fang Yan proceeded to tie up her other leg. During this process, Wang Li has been watching Fang Yan's every move with her eyes wide open. He did not speak, nor did he resist. Fang Yan finished the exercise on his legs and turned around to pick up the bowl of warm medicinal soup. He held Wang Li's back with one hand and placed the soup in her hand. He smiled and said, "Drink it." Wang Li took the bowl of medicine and drank the black liquid in one gulp. Fang Yan took the bowl and said with a smile, "Your body is very weak. You need to drink Chinese medicine for at least half a month to recuperate. As for the dregs on your leg, just change them once every 3 days. You don't have to change them too often. Don't worry, they'll get better." Wang Li still did not speak. She only stared unblinkingly at Fang Yan with her murky red eyes. "I understand," Wang Li suddenly said. "What do you understand?" Fang Yan asked with a smile. "Acting," Wang Li said. "You too are acting." "We're not acting." Fang Yan shook his head. Wang Li did not believe Fang Yan's words. She turned around to ask Lu Chaoga. "We're not acting." Lu Chaoga said, "Before he came, I didn't tell him that you were still alive." Wang Li's eyes flashed. "You didn't know about my existence before?" "I didn't know." "You didn't know about my cooperation with the Lu family?" "I didn't know at all," Fang Yan answered with absolute certainty. Wang Li wanted to say something but stopped. She did not ask this question in the end. "You want to ask if I'm angry, right?" Fang Yan took the initiative to ask the question in Wang Li's heart. "Yes," Wang Li said. "I know you. I know you're close to Lu Chaoga. I also know you've helped her a lot. She hid my existence from you and hid my cooperation with the Lu family. I think you must be very angry, right?" "Of course I'm angry," Fang Yan said very frankly. "To tell you the truth, the moment I entered the study and saw you and Lu Shu, I felt like my heart was stabbed by a knife. I felt that I was betrayed by Lu Chaoga. I helped her with all my heart, helped her find the enemy who killed her father, helped her get back her property, helped her protect her. But she still hid such important information from me. What did she think I was? A handsome bodyguard? A cold-blooded thug who automatically appears when there's danger? Later I thought that everyone has their own secrets that they don't want to tell others. She didn't tell me about your existence, which means she hasn't regarded me as her closest friend. She doesn't trust me as much as I trust her. Or maybe she has her own difficulties. We always hope that the interaction between people is equal. I give my sincerity, and you return my sincerity. I give my feelings, and you return my feelings. I give everything, and you do everything for me. This is unreal in life, and it's very difficult to do. You love her, and she loves you. This is a match made in heaven. Most of the time, you love her, and she loves him, but he doesn't love her. I feel hurt and cheated because I put her in a very important position. She doesn't trust me, and she hides things from me, which only proves that I'm not that important to her. This is a test. She didn't wholeheartedly, and I performed perfectly unilaterally. Fang Yan said with a smile. What she did to me, I will do to her. So, from now on, we are just ordinary friends. If we redefine our relationship in this way, my heart will feel much better, and those secrets and betrayals will have no meaning. Because no one will expose all their secrets to an ordinary friend. Not to mention this kind of privacy that concerns the lives of oneself and those close to you. Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoge and said, I understand everything you did, but from my personal standpoint, I can't accept it. Lu Chaoge's lips moved slightly, but she only let out a soft sigh. She didn't explain. They were both smart people, and they always had a tacit understanding. She didn't even say hello. After he came, he took a look and then played the show with her. She understood what he was thinking, and he also understood what kind of person he was. Seeing Lu Chaoge's sad and guilty expression, Wang Li, who knew her very well, said softly, Before, Lu Chaoge didn't know that I was alive, because I didn't dare to contact her. I knew that she was closely monitored. If I rashly contacted her, both of us would be in danger. It's not easy for everyone to live. It's not easy for me, and it's even more difficult for Lu Chaoge, who lives in the Jiang family. Have you ever thought that Lu Chaoge didn't tell you about my existence and didn't confess to you the secret of my cooperation with the Lu family was actually just because she didn't want you to have a bad impression of her? Fang Yan looked at Lu Chaoge in surprise, but Lu Chaoge slightly turned her face and refused to look at Fang Yan's eyes. Lu Chaoge didn't approve of my cooperation with the Lu family. After she knew the truth, she kept persuading me. I think you know her about this, Wang Li said. To be honest, you two cooperated so well that even I was deceived at that time. I even blamed Lu Chaoge for transferring such a huge sum of money to your account. Because I never thought that you were a trustworthy person. We two poor women depended on each other for survival. If we were not careful, we would be swallowed by those schemers. They're capable of anything. The accident of Lu Chaoge's parents and my face are the best examples. Until just now, I was still wondering why Lu Chaoge told all our secrets to you. If we were not careful, we would die without a burial place. Because if she didn't tell you about my existence and my cooperation with the Lu family, how could you have such a wonderful cooperation? Wang Li's lips were chapped, and because she talked too much, her face became more embarrassed. Lu Chaoge went to pour a glass of water for her and said, Have a rest. Wang Li drank the water, but refused to lie down immediately. She looked at Fang Yan and said, You are right, everyone wants the same value in return for their efforts. This time, it was Lu Chaoge who felt guilty about you, and it was I who felt guilty about you. We were not as frank as you, and we were too insidious and suspicious. To be honest, until now, I dare not trust you like Lu Chaoge. However, Lu Chaoge has already given you the greatest amount of trust she can give you. She asked the Lu family to transfer the money to your account, asking you to protect her, and also because she has complete trust in you. Because that is the money to save my life, and it is all we have now. She entrusted her everything to you, isn't that also a kind of trust? Fang Yan was silent, and said, What you said makes me feel more pressure, because I have decided to treat her as a normal friend. Then let's just be friends, Lu Chaoge said. Aren't you afraid that I will refuse to transfer the money? Fang Yin asked. If you didn't help, that money and our lives might have been gone. Lu Chaoga said without any worry, it is only a matter of time. For the situation at that time, I made the best choice. As for the future, do I have the right to think about the future? Fang Yen, you are a variable. Wang Li said. Whether it is the Jiang family, the Lu family, or me, we have never thought that because of your appearance, things will be pushed to the situation that is most beneficial to us. So what if the Lu family took the contract? The day they join the dragon group will be the day they sink into the mire. Wang Li became more and more emotional, and her voice was dry and hoarse as she said, when two tigers fight, one will be hurt. Fang Yen, thank you for avenging us. Wang Li fell asleep. When the two came out, Lu Chaoga gently closed the door. No matter what, I owe you an apology. Lu Chaoga said. I will not say it is okay. Fang Yen said. Chapter 190. What? Fang Yen jumped up from his chair in surprise. This news was too shocking. It was so shocking that even a calm man like him could not remain calm. I just found out about this secret from my aunt, Lu Chaoga said calmly. She was always so cold and emotionless, as if she didn't care much about anything. This was the personality that was formed by his life as a spy in the Jiang family, and it would not change in a short period of time. He might never be able to change it. I was also surprised to hear about this. I tried my best to find out the truth of that incident. Everyone I met told me that the Rubik's Cube research had reached a bottleneck and was temporarily put on hold. I didn't expect it to be solved. My dad passed all the information and technology to my aunt. She has always kept this secret. If the Jiang and Lu families knew about this, what would they think? Fang Yen asked maliciously. That's their business, Lu Chaoga said. I think they must be very unhappy. What are you going to do? You should know that if there is really no problem with the technology, it will bring about a revolution in this world. The benefits are too big. I know, Lu Chaoga said. This is the reason why I gave up on Long2 Group. I want to build it with my own hands and use the 1 billion as the startup capital. You want to start your own energy company? Fang Yen asked in surprise. It's us. Us. Fang Yen looked at Lu Chaoga in confusion, then suddenly understood and said, You want me to join you? You don't have to join me, but I want to give you what you deserve. Because of guilt. To repay a favor. Fang Yen was silent. I am not a person who takes advantage of the situation. It is not easy for you two women to live now. But you will accept it. Is that right? Lu Chaoga said, because you won't miss any opportunity to change the world. In this world, there is only 1.5 people I can trust. Lu Chaoga said, one is Auntie, the other half is you. I'm sorry, we haven't known each other for long. I know you've helped me a lot, and I know you've saved my life. And not just once. This is because I'm too sensitive and paranoid. It has nothing to do with your character. That's because there's a problem with your character. I don't deny it. Lu Chaoga nodded. I'll try to change, but I might not be able to. I'll try my best. You just acquired Rosefinch Secondary, and now you're going to start an energy company. Can you handle it? Everything is difficult at the beginning. The energy company has just been established, so it will take a lot of time. So, I will give up my position with Rosefinch. I don't think I'm qualified enough to take over your position. If there are some jobs that I can't do well, I hope you won't mind. Fang Yen said sincerely. Lu Chaoga looked at Fang Yen deeply and said, I will appoint you as the leader of the language team for the first years and nominate you as the school's director. I'm not going to be the principal. The principal is Zhang Xiaofeng. He's quite capable, but he's too tactful. I'll have a good talk with him when I leave. He will fully support your new teaching practice. Fang Yen nodded and said, It seems that you've considered everything. There's nothing I'm not satisfied with. I'll just be the language teacher of Class 9. You know better than anyone that my personality is not suitable to be an official. This is not what I'm after. No problem. Lu Chaoga accepted Fang Yan's proposal. The two of us are still too weak in the company. We need to bring in a partner with a strong background. At least, we don't have to worry about the company being crushed by the Jiang and Lu families when it's still young and weak. You have to know that in this world, it's not just talent and technology that can lead to success. Lu Chaoga nodded and said, I have a candidate to recommend. In the vice principal's office, Lu Chaoga and Qin Etienne sat opposite each other. After Qin Etienne finished reading the information in his hand, he casually threw it on the coffee table and asked, Where's Feng Yan? He's going to class. Lu Chaoga said, I think it's better for the two of us to talk alone. Why me? Qin Etienne asked. I think you're the most suitable candidate. Qin Etienne smiled and said, Principal Lu trusts me very much. So, what's your opinion? Lu Chaoga asked. I have to say that the Rubik's Cube technology has a very promising market. If this technology is really as amazing as what's written in the information, you can make money with your eyes closed. If our family gets this kind of Rubik's Cube, it's absolutely impossible to cooperate with others. Of course, you choose to cooperate with us, certainly not because you want us to share the cost or let us make money together. Are you worried that someone will take advantage of it? Or, someone has already done so? You just need a guarantee? You're very smart. Lu Chaoga didn't deny it. This is very fair. I have no reason to refuse. Qin Etienne said. She stood up and walked to Lu Chaoga's desk. She took a pencil from the pen holder and then wrote a row of beautiful numbers on the white paper on the desk. Call this number. Someone wants to see you. She threw the pencil on the desk and said, I'm going to class. I actually don't want to skip Mr. Feng's class. After that, she opened the office door and walked out. Lu Chaoga looked at her elegant and agile figure, and her eyes showed a little envy. Beautiful, smart, and with a powerful background, such a girl, how blessed by God. With every step the man took, the wooden clogs would knock on the smooth marble floor of the airport, making a clear and pleasant sound. He wore a long leather shawl, a white Taoist robe, and wooden clogs. This unique style of dress let people know at a glance that he came from Japan. Cold, thin, like a flaming bird in the desert, bathing in the scorching sun, a sand-eating eagle. It was obvious that it was extraordinary. It was easy to overlook his looks because his temperament was too outstanding. Behind the man, there were two beautiful children. The girl was gentle and lively, with a very amiable smile on her face. The boy and the girl were diametrically opposite, with a serious expression, as if they had a grudge against everyone. Behind them, there were several strange people following. Those who didn't know better would think that they were some art performance group from Japan. Everyone they met would point at them, and some people wanted to take out their mobile phones to take pictures. However, when they adjusted the angle of their mobile phones, they found that the clicking sound was very far away from them. This made them puzzled. They didn't notice that they were walking very fast. Why couldn't they catch up? However, no one wanted to turn around and chase after them, because they always felt that there was something blocking their footsteps and their determination. They're here again. Chiba Kori stood outside the airport gate and said with a smile, I didn't expect it to be so fast. Chiba Haomu snorted, very dissatisfied with Chiba Kori's behavior. Chiba Kori smiled and reached out to touch her brother's hair, but Chiba Haomu dodged her. I know you didn't want to come, but since father made this decision, then he must be doing it for your own good. Don't you think so? After a pause, the girl said happily, Besides, I like Huaxia very much. This is a very mysterious country. Before coming here, I never thought that I would meet so many outstanding people. How could there be such an outstanding girl? As a girl myself, I was also impressed by her aura. This is a hypocritical country. Every single one of them was very hypocritical. They are full of hostility toward us. Chiba Haomu finally couldn't help but lose his temper. I really don't understand. Why did we come back? Is it just to witness my humiliation again? Thud. The sound of wooden clogs suddenly stopped. The sun was shining brightly in the sky. He raised his head and let the sunlight shine on his face. He squinted his eyes and gave off a lazy and comfortable feeling. What was even stranger was that his pale face seemed to be strangely transparent. Even the tiny blood vessels could be seen clearly. "No matter where you go, you must love the land beneath your feet," the man said softly, but his words were heard by everyone behind him. "Our strength comes from the sun, from the land, and from ourselves. You repel the sun, and the sun repel you. You don't love the land, and the land doesn't love you." How can you defeat the enemies who have the right time, place, and people to rely on yourself? How can you defeat the enemies who are supported by the sun and the land? If your heart is warm and peaceful, then every swing of your sword will also be warm and peaceful. You love everything around you. Every time you swing your sword, the wind will help you, the rain will help you, the sun and the leaves will help you. A true swordsman needs to become one with the sword. And when you become one with the sword, you also need to become one with nature. That way, you will have an aura, and the sword you swing will have an aura. What is the way of the sword? Everything is the way, and the way includes everything. The man turned to look at Chiba Haomu, then at his son, and said, "The sun and rain, the land, and everyone you meet are all the way of the sword." Chiba Haomu was the inheritor and promoter of the one blade of the North Star. He was the #1 swordsman in Japan, known as the Light of the North Star. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.